A otaku, playing the latest online game in the Fengshen series, unexpectedly returned to the world of cultivation in the late Shang Dynasty and was reborn as the biggest villain, King Zhou. God is very principled and has given the otaku version of King Zhou a great benefit. The game system has replaced his heart beating. From then on, he can enter and exit the game space of Fengshen, call game skills and materials, summon game pets. Golden Finger, awesome, he will never allow the fate of national subjugation and death to finally come. He wants to carry out revolutionary changes, rewrite the list of deities, implement the plan to cultivate immortals led by Neza and Leishenzi, and save the lost girls in the world represented by dodgy keywords of the novel. Rebirth of King Zhou playing with Fengshen no pop-ups, Rebirth of King Zhou playing with Fengshen complete collection download, Rebirth of King Zhou playing with Fengshen latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Regenerates the Big Bad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Regenerates the Big Bad. This chapter is free. Lightning bolts in the sky indicate that a storm is about to come. Even if this military camp is close to the water, the low pressure still brings a sense of stuffiness. Several new recruits from Shentangwan are currently in a bad mood. Damn it, is this? You still have to come out to carry out the mission after the ghost weather. Military camps have always relied on their strength to speak. These new recruits can only accept assignments unconditionally and accompany the so-called noble prince from the capital around the clock. That noble young master is a restless master. Half a month ago, he stumbled and fell on the mountain behind Sunset Ridge. Afterwards, it was proven that he was lively and had the same appetite as before, and there was nothing wrong with him, but generally was really scared at the time. Afterwards, I will send a few new soldiers to follow the noble young master closely, just to avoid any further mishaps. The noble young master has a dignified demeanor, with a domineering expression on his face, but he is not cunning, only occasionally exhibiting some puzzling and peculiar behavior. For example, in the current thunderstorm weather, he refused to stay indoors without saying anything. Run out in a flash, are you not afraid of lightning strikes? TSK, the noble people from Chauga have great courage. The new recruits guessed incorrectly. No matter how imaginative they were, they could never have imagined that the nobleman did not come from the capital city Chauga, but from a coastal medium-sized city thousands of years later. Jia Zixing was scrutinizing the sky with a deep and melancholic gaze, hoping for some kind of thunder and lightning to come to his head without bias. And then sending him back to the cheap rental house of the 21st century. In the future world, he didn't appear to be a typical dog, just an otaku, but it was better than being in this world full of murders. Jia Zixing admits that his past life as a person was a failure. What can be done? At the age of 16, his parents died in a car accident and he was adopted by a seemingly loyal couple. 3 years later, the couple completed strict training on Zixing and finally revealed their true identity. They were actually the leader of a matchmaking fraud gang. The scale of the fraud gang is very small and belongs to family-style operation. I adopted Zixing because I had a crush on his handsome appearance and planned to use his beauty to cheat female white-collar workers out of money. Not as exaggerated as described in the novel, Candlelight. Autumn Night. Violet, wealthy women can throw tens of millions of Hong Kong dollars to grab a little white face. Moreover, women who are prone to fraud often have a lot of hair disease on their bodies, which is so ugly and domineering. During the process of dating them, Zixing feels like going to a hell-themed park, step-by-step shocking. Some authors like to portray the wealthy heirs in their novels as well-behaved, beautiful, and easy to deceive. Zixing wished she could throw them away and let the mother tiger ravage them. Over the years, Zixing has become extremely tired of his career as a cheat, similar to that of the male protagonist, Yadi, in novels. He appears elegant and charming on the surface, with an unparalleled suction, dealing with third-rate and 9 religious figures made his social skills smooth and proficient. The couple's fraudsters thought Zixing would dedicate his entire youth to them. On a certain day and night, Zixing ran away and went to a small city in the south to hide his name, completely breaking free from their control. Zixing still has an indelible sense of justice in his bones, unwilling to sink deeper and deeper into sin. With some savings, I can still live on. My heart is empty, living in dim memories. The dull life still has to continue, he needs spiritual support. Taking medication is simply seeking death, he doesn't want to die yet. Finding a group of hikers to explore and seek excitement, he was worried that his meager savings would not be able to withstand several cultural journeys. Zixing began to indulge in the world of online games. Travel is a cheap way to avoid reality. Otaku can also be trained like this. What flows in his bones is restless blood, eager to get rid of worldly troubles, so he prefers the type of cultivation during his travels. Half a month ago, I heard that the latest version of the Fengshen series of games began public testing. Zixing also went to join the fun. Download the game, successfully install it, and receive the beginner resource pack. Everything went smoothly. One of Zixing's proudest things is that she never goes to sites where she plays ads and Big Wave Girl, and downloads game software for free. He can pat his chest and claim that he has never been infected with a computer virus as a result. However, it was still a bad dish. It was a night full of thunder and lightning. Jia Zixing proved through his personal experience that when thunder and lightning teamed up to rape people's dreams, they could never sit in front of appliances with a sense of luck. Jia Zixing belongs to the type of soul-piercing. The guy he possessed had just died shortly after, in a carefully planned murder. Zixing inherited most of the memories of the unjustly deceased nobleman, and was well aware that the assassin was an extremely powerful alchemist, holding a sharp stone with a shuttle horn and fiercely smashing it into his heart. His entire heart was crushed by sharp stones, and he died to the point where he could no longer die. Then, the deceased was transported to the chaotic quarry behind the Sunset Ridge in Chintang Pass, disguised as falling down the mountain and being stabbed to death by a protruding sharp stone in the heart. The Sunset Ridge, with a poetic name, is just a soil slope that is less than 10 zhang high, and it may not necessarily lead to falling to death. So arranging more details that are accustomed to piercing the heart with a stone thorn is the most secure. The eerie event of soul possession rebirth is not within the scope of ordinary assassins. According to the experience gained from reading the article, time travel can be divided into two types: soul penetration and overall penetration. The crossing of Zixing belongs to the former. The physical body that carries his soul is called Zixin. The teenager is tall and masculine, with a somewhat resemblance to the character Sun Quan played in the old version of the TV drama, Three Kingdoms. Zixing does not reject this new body. The beauty of vigor has been appreciated by Zixing in his past life. Moreover, behaviors like soul-piercing have a high degree of uncertainty and are not worn on bodies such as cats, dogs, dead mice, toads, etc. It's okay. It's okay. What causes hidden worries for Zixing is the abnormality in his current body. Less than an hour after Zixing's soul was possessed, a new layer of flesh grew from the large wound on his chest. Which was also an important reason why he could deceive General Li and make him think he was unscathed. Only Zixing knows that there is no heart inside the new skin. Can you live without a heart? Zixing is quite skeptical about this. Zixin's memory told him that this body had not undergone any refinement in terms of qi cultivation, only some foreign martial arts. To put it 10,000 steps back, even those who refine qi and cultivate reality can only survive without a heart, which is probably rare. Even in time travel, some rules cannot be broken just by breaking them. When Zixing's curiosity was high, he wished he could peel off his newly grown flesh and see the scene inside his chest clearly. Of course, it's just a thought. Who knows if doing that poses any other harm? Can the skin and flesh still grow back? A black hole is constantly exposed in the chest, and seeing too much of oneself can make one feel scared and foolish. There are still many troubles to worry about. Counting the memories of Zixin, Zixing confirmed that he was reborn into the Shang Dynasty. Moreover, it is the Yin and Shang dynasties in Fengshen. The deceased, Zixing, naturally believed that everything in this world, including cultivators and mystical Taoism, was a reasonable existence. But as a traveler, Zixing secretly concluded that the Yin Shang in Fengshen and the true Shang dynasty in Chinese history were two mutually independent parallel spaces. A very peculiar phenomenon. Zixing has never encountered a cultivator before. Who would have thought that after ascending the throne, various immortals would flock to find Zixing on their own initiative? Zixing is naturally skilled in martial arts. He learned about Li Jing, the general of Shentangwan, who had the chance to enter Kunlun Mountain to practice Taoism. Unfortunately, his aptitude was too poor, and he couldn't comprehend the sect's divine powers no matter how he learned them. Finally, he was discouraged by his school and switched to military development halfway through. Zixing didn't mind Li Jing's limited level. After all, he managed to get by in the immortal family sect. I wanted to worship him as my teacher. If Li Jing could recommend him to study art in West Kunlun, it would be even more welcome. Besides worrying about the lack of important components in his body, what worries Zixing the most is his current identity. Zixing. It is the renowned King Zhou of Shang. In both official history and divine novels, this guy is a notorious villain with sores on his head and pus flowing from his feet. For example, if he made a bet to verify the sex of the fetus in a pregnant woman's belly, King Zhou directly ordered soldiers to cut open the woman's abdomen with a knife and examine the results. In order to have fun, King Zhou also invented a type of torture tool called cannon roasting, which was made of copper and cast into hollow pillars. Red charcoal fire was burned inside the pillars. The subjects who looked down on them were stripped of their clothes and tied to the copper pillars to be roasted alive. From this case, Zixing not only saw the cruelty of King Zhou, but also saw that this brother possessed the innovative spirit of a scientist, but unfortunately did not use the correct path of invention and creation. In short, according to Zixing's perspective, he is now the Zixing, the future emperor of the Shang Dynasty, and he can guarantee that those famous atrocities will not be born in his own hands. If it were only to travel through ordinary historical dynasties, Zixing had confidence in accelerating the Bronze Age of the Yin and Shang dynasties with his foresight and technological knowledge that was ahead of the times by n years. The common people lived and worked in peace and contentment, and he also had a good mood when the world's most beautiful woman, Daji, appeared. Then, she was forced to stay with herself in the palace, diligently studying ideological and political education, and swore not to be a wicked concubine. This kind of life is infinite longing and anticipation. What troubles Zixing is that in both history and novels, the ending of the Shang is destined to be the destruction of King Wu of Zhou. King Zhou died in the Great Fire at the Star-Picking Tower. Zixing highly doubted that even if the prodigal son of King Zhou turned around and turned evil into good, the destined war with King Wu of Zhou would still occur. From behind-the-scenes promotion to directly sending Taoist friends to participate in the war, the confrontation between the two major forces of King Zhou and King Wu of Zhou was difficult to shake off the influence of elucidation of religion and interception of religion. Only when the good leaders, saints, and Taoist friends of the immortal family have all ceased to exist and strictly abide by the treaty of non-interference between immortals and mortals, can the fate of King Zhou truly change. Thinking of using an ordinary person to fight against immortals, demons, and even against the sect leader saints who are prone to destroying heaven and earth, Zixing's head swells. Why haven't you opened your golden finger on this journey so far? No, awesome. Zixing's fragmented thoughts. Alas, the stingy thief is probably living a tight life without any golden finger indicators for him. But at least you have chosen me as the positive character in the happy ending of Fengshen. Wait a minute, the most upright male lead seems to be Jiang Taigong. Well, it's disgusting, it's too old. He rose to fame late and only arrived at Kunlun Mountain to cultivate his way in his 50s. At the age of 80, he used a fishing rod to lure King Zhou to his side. As the number one upright person, Xingzi could only sigh at the sight of beautiful women, which was not cost-effective. It's better to be the righteous second male lead, King Wu of Zhou, GFA. Although the scenes are pitifully short, almost equivalent to a divine card tribute there, the victory lies in the happiness that seems to live in a sweet fairy tale. After complaining, there is a deep sense of powerlessness. Even in the middle of the night with lightning and thunder, the insomnia-stricken Zixing couldn't help but run into the wilderness, hoping that the lightning could send him back to his original world. The lightning stopped and heavy rain poured down. Refusing to suffer in the rainstorm, he hurried to the old temple to the east of Shueibua to take shelter from the rain. After being drenched in the cold rain, Zixing's obsession with a second time crossing finally completely dissipated. He no longer placed his hopes on the vastness of nothingness, but shouted with great fighting spirit, "People live for a lifetime, grass lives for an autumn. Even if this world and its fate are difficult to change, I will fight for it for a lifetime. I cannot accept fate's arrangements in a cowardly manner. Who has never died in life since ancient times, leave a loyal heart to shine on history." At this moment, Zixing chanted the timeless famous line of Wen Tianxiang, inspiring fighting spirit and most fitting. What a person who has never died in life since ancient times, leaving a loyal heart to shine on Han Qing. Brother's ambition is commendable, and the phrase recited is also wonderful. A crisp voice echoed behind Zixing, accompanied by a soft clapping sound. Oh, in this kind of ghostly weather, there are people like him who are so nervous, don't sleep, and run out to enjoy the scenery and listen to the rain. Zixing thought that he would appreciate someone like him who was almost driven crazy by bizarre experiences and heavy pressure, and he must also have some divine nagging. Maybe he still has a pitiful and disrespectful expression on his face. Zixing straightened her waist, contracted her abdomen, took deep breaths, prepared mentally, and slowly turned around. What caught his eye was not a pervert with abnormal behavior, but rather a handsome young master with skin like condensed fat and eyes like morning stars. The young master's mood seemed unaffected by the harsh environment, and he was standing there smiling at Zixing. Chapter 2. The little girl startles people to death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The little girl startles people to death. This chapter is free. Her eyebrows were as distant as a daisy one, her cherry lips were small, and she gently shook the water droplets of the bamboo bone green oil umbrella in her hand. She was dressed in a spotless Xingxue white dress, like the graceful figure of a weak willow supporting the wind, with an indescribable and charming taste. Before crossing the river, Zixing was a prey during his mission. If he could catch up with a small fraction of the person in front of him, he promised to fake it and then wash his hands with gold, making his brother a beautiful story in the cheat world. Ha! The person in front of me is clearly dressed as a man, how could I not help but mistake him for a woman? Brother is not a double-flavored garbage. It's so close. Almost breaking through the thousands of years of Taoist tradition of passing through a myriad of flowers, leaves not clinging to clothes. Zixing stared like a sea lantern, carefully studying the chest of the pink-faced young master. Flat and neat. Although it is said that there is also the nickname airport for the chest of otaku, according to Zixing's professional observation, there will always be ups and downs to some extent. Unlike the chest of a pink-faced young master, which is so flat that it can definitely take off and land on Boeing 787 and Airbus 3800. Zixing couldn't even distinguish the other person's gender, which did tarnish his reputation as a young woman assassin in the martial arts world. Zixing feels aggrieved. The difference between these ancient boys and girls and the boys and girls of his time is not ordinary. For example, General Li Jing now has two sons, the eldest named Jin Jia and the second named Mu Jia. Half a month ago, when Zixing first met the eldest son of the Li family, he recognized him as a little girl. Zixing traveled thousands of years to Shentangwen and has been living in General Li's mansion. That morning, I woke up from being held up by urine and hurriedly got up to head straight to the men's specialized thatched cottage across from the bedroom. Zheng painfully paid the water bill to the urine tank and accumulated fertilizer for a vegetable plot in Shentangwan. At this moment, a handsome little girl pushed the door and walked into the thatched cottage. The little girl was shocked to see the big lump under Zixing, and almost felt insecure. Speaking of which, when Zixing first inspected the big lump, she was also very surprised and happy. Subsequently, Lenovo became more and more diverse. Is it difficult for a bold little girl to choose the wrong time and place to have the wrong physical communication with me? Zixing was filled with grief and anger. The trend of office romance among petty bourgeoisie people has changed to stinky love when it's my turn. The next day, Li Jing invited Zixing to a family banquet and introduced his two sons who had just returned from his grandmother's house to Zixing. Zixing was stunned when he saw Jin Zhao. It was the little girl whom he mistook for a bold and unrestrained woman. TSK, look at the professional level of this fake mother. Chun Gu should also be ashamed. He had poor eyesight, but he blamed Li Chun for it. Zixing had thick skin and didn't feel embarrassed. Having experienced the above, Zixing couldn't confidently assert that the young man in front of him was a woman. The pink-faced young master saw that Zixing had been silent for a long time, staring at him in a daze, and his heart was initially angry. Then, with great tolerance, he looked for the reason from his own perspective. Was it because my disguise was not in place? Did you miss the filling? Upon this thought, I couldn't help but feel a bit guilty and turned around to take a look at my back body. There was no abnormality before I finally let go. Just now, I heard this young master's beautiful line, which depicts his unwavering and passionate spirit, making my blood boil upon hearing it. The pink-faced young master looked at Zixing as his confidant and said, as you mentioned earlier, you will devote your whole life to changing this world and its fate. I boldly speculate that you intend to overthrow the current emperor, Emperor Yi. What kind of vision is this? Brother caught up with the tide of crossing the river, and had to face an extremely tragic end in order to exchange for the current status of top-notch prince in his current glory. This oily and powdery guy surprisingly guessed recklessly that he wanted to overthrow the rule of Emperor Yi's father. There are still two older brothers on Zixing. Dad is now handing over the power, isn't it a cheap deal for big brother Waiziki? Zixing corrected him seriously with a serious expression. You said such heinous and immoral words, don't fall on me. He thought to himself, why is my brother like a cautious ancient man? This guy in front of me looks more like a radical modern youth than me. Young master, don't blame me for my shallow and profound communication. Under the governance of Emperor Yi, the great Shang Dynasty has accumulated poverty and weakness. Even the remnants of Qiyu and the barbaric clown like Jiuli tribe dare to invade the great Shang border every year, plundering a large number of people and livestock. Emperor Yi only knows how to tolerate and seek peace. The pink-faced young master let out a heavy sigh and said, if it weren't for all the restrictions imposed on me, I would never sit idly by. Now, I can only hope for a new emperor. A promising new ruler who can rise up and clear the world. Knowing that the other party is not aware of his identity and background is why he openly criticizes Emperor B's cowardice and incompetence in person, and Zixing does not take him seriously. However, my heart is also getting tired of it. You spread rebellious remarks everywhere, don't worry, don't come to harm me. Brother's current background is rooted in red seedlings, and we should also guard against suspicion from the emperor's father. Well, if it were the only prince, it would be much more popular. Realizing that the young master with pink noodles was speaking loudly, it was likely that he had a surprising start. Zixing tentatively asked, I recommend Xianyuan with my blood. Brother, your ambition is not small. Do you have an ideal candidate for a new ruler in your mind? Upon hearing the sentence, I recommend Xianyuan with my blood, the young master with a pink face sparkled with admiration. Immersed in the generosity that poetry brought to him for a long time, he bowed to Zixing, clasped his fists and respectfully said, "Young master, you are indeed a master of manners and eloquent words. I have learned from you." After a pause, he said, "I have heard of the emergence of many handsome scholars in Shichi, and Shichangbo is also a prominent figure in the world. If Emperor B could follow the example of ancient emperors and abdicate the throne to—" "Stop!" Zixing shouted loudly. The pink noodle young master was taken aback for a moment. He didn't know how to speak it properly. Why was he so anxious? Can Zixing not be in a hurry? His good days have not yet passed, and the pseudo-mother actually suggested giving the great fortune to the father of his biggest political opponent, King Wu of Zhou. Ji Chang. Seeing the pink-faced young master with bewildered eyes, he looked at him puzzled. Zixing also felt a bit embarrassed about his attitude just now. He changed his tone and said, "Talking about these disappointing things is boring. Oh, by the way, this old temple looks quite popular. Chentang Pass is vast and sparsely populated. Which deity is enshrined in this temple? The believers are so devout." The pink noodle young master asked in surprise, "You don't even know about this Nu Wanyang temple? Are you not a local, young master? Nu Wa is very famous. Her background has been passed down in various versions. Some say she is the goddess of the heavenly realm, while others say she is the ancestor of the demon race. Those who believe that Nu Wa comes from the demon tribe are the barbaric Jiuli tribe. They regard Nu Wa as their ancestor and insist that they have inherited Nu Wa's bloodline. Interestingly, the human race does not reject the demonic appearance of Nu Wa, who has a human head and a snake body. People praise her as the most loving goddess in the heavenly realm. In the hearts of the human race, Nu Wa is packaged as a model of high, large, and complete, caused by the collapse of a large mountain. Legend has it that there was a crazy guy named Gongong who lost a fight and was so angry that he used his head to hit the first sacred mountain in the wilderness, Buzhou Mountain. Perhaps Gongong has practiced the version of Iron Head skill in the immortal realm, or perhaps the first divine mountain was falsely named, but in the end, Buzhou Shan was knocked down. Even more exaggeratedly, Buzhou Shan has multiple identities. It is not only a battlefield for joint work, but also a paradise for Nu Wa and her brother Fuxi to cultivate, and ultimately one of the 4 pillars of the heavenly sky. In short, when the pillars of the mountain that were cut corners collapsed, the sky suddenly tilted to the northwest and the earth sank to the southeast. Natural disasters occur frequently, and humanity is facing the largest catastrophe in history. What should we do if the sky collapses? Make up for it. As the indigenous people of Mount Buzhou, Nu Wa actively ran around and collected 5-colored stones from all over the world to repair the large holes that appeared in the sky. Human beings ultimately did not die. It is said that it was because Nu Wa repaired the sky. Finally, Nu Wa used the remaining 5-colored stone to repair the sky and transformed it into the famous Jia Baoyu of later generations. Most of the common people in the Shang Dynasty believed in Nu Wa and always liked to pray to her when they had something to do. The people's superstition directly gave birth to various Nu Wa temples in the Shang Dynasty. Well, even the remote Shentanguan has built a Nu Wa temple. Zixing's personal perception of Nu Wa is not very good. It's all due to conflicts of interest. In the Fengshen romance, the Nu Wa retaliated the harshest against King Zhou for a poem with oil on it. The conflict between King Zhou and her is quite great. From the perspective of a third party, Zixing also feels that she is making too much of a fuss. Such a narrow-minded woman, Zixing doubts how she could have done such a compassionate act of picking stones to repair the sky. Even if she really made up for the blue sky, Zixing believes that it is also her obligation. Just like the victims of a major earthquake, most of them stand on the front line of rebuilding their homes, working hard and tirelessly. Nu Wa's hometown, Buzhou Shan, collapsed and caused an avalanche. She should contribute to repairing the sky. Since he is a deity, is his consciousness not as good as that of ordinary people in disaster areas? Nu Wa. The one who mends the sky, isn't she? Of course I have heard of it. But I think the legend of mending the sky is made up by mortals, so Nuwa wouldn't be so kind to help humans mend the sky. She is such a narrow-minded woman, Zixing thought and said to the pink-faced young master. It's rare to be frank and straightforward. Why did you see it? The pink young master's face darkened and he asked word by word. He spoke in anger, and his aura appeared extremely majestic, with a hint of intimidation. Unfortunately, Zixing comes from another time and space that emphasizes freedom and equality, and is completely immune to such nonsense and domineering behavior. On the contrary, I feel that the young master with pink noodles is like those little girls who get emotional with their crush. Her eyes couldn't help but twirl a few times on her face. Since you have asked about Nuwa, I would like to talk to you about it carefully. Zixing's face also changed, showing a look of great bitterness and deep hatred. He officially entered the corner of being humiliated and persecuted. You say. Squeeze 2 words from between your teeth. The pink noodle young master angrily thought to himself, I want to hear how this guy, who originally thought he had extraordinary knowledge, arranged me. Chapter 3. Enhanced version of Fateful Dog Blood Poetry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Enhanced version of Fateful Dog Blood Poetry. This chapter is free. Suddenly, a strong wind blew into the temple. This old temple, of course, cannot compare to the magnificent and majestic layout of the Nuwa temple built by Chowga. In the memories inherited by Zixing, the emperor left the palace to offer incense at the Nuwa temple, where he sang songs, and was elevated to the height of the most important national ceremony. A few days before the emperor decided to offer incense at the Nuwa temple, the people of the capital had to prepare in advance. The imperial carriage left the south gate of Chowga, where every household burned incense and set up tables, and each household was decorated and covered with felt. 3,000 iron cavalry responsible for escorting, 800 imperial forests, the civil and military officials of the Manchu court who join in the fun with farts all need to have their official uniforms neat. The Nuwa temple of Chowga is adorned with magnificent colorful gold in front of the hall, the jade hook hangs diagonally, and the treasure tent sways. A golden furnace with auspicious mist, a curly purple mist rising, and a brilliant silver candle burning high. The Nuwa temple where Zixing is currently located is extremely shabby. The curtain of the first half of the statue of Nuwa has been smoked black by incense, emitting a sense of decay. The only acceptable one is the wooden carved and painted Nuwa holy image, which can be seen at a glance as being made by a famous family demonstrating great skill. The oval-shaped face exudes delicate features, but it still doesn't deserve the 4 words, national color, or heavenly fragrance. When it comes to national beauty and heavenly fragrance, Zixing added 1 piece in his 2 lifetimes and only saw 1 person reach this level. The one standing next to him now. He looks more than just national beauty and heavenly fragrance, he has reached the level of disaster to the country and the people. Zixing casually pointed his finger at the statue of Nuwa with disrespect and said with a smile, I said this woman has a bad temper. Don't believe it. There was a ruler who saw her statue at the Nuwa temple and was attracted, so he recited a few lines of poetry. As a result, this woman became furious and hired 3 fairies who had been practicing for thousands of years to harm him. Do you think she is being cautious? The story is not at all brilliant. I didn't know such a thing had happened, said the pink young master with a hint of displeasure. Her face turned red and white, and the feeling of being scolded in front of her was unbearable. It tastes like swallowing a stomach full of flies. Zixing chuckled inwardly and said, this matter won't happen until 7 years after I ascended to the throne as emperor of the Shang Dynasty. You've heard of it before you'll see the ghost. Zixing made up his mind not to let the dog blood plot of 1 poem leading to the downfall of a dynasty happen to him, so he treated the poem in the novel's romance as a joke. Zixing never imagined that the pink-faced young master in front of him was the other party involved in the 1 poem entanglement incident. Enua furrowed her beautiful willow eyebrows and thought to herself, I have always treated myself with restraint. How could I, rashly, offend a mortal? Who the hell is orchestrating and fabricating my wrongdoing? But after living for tens of thousands of years, it's impossible for all the bits and pieces to stay in my mind. It is very common for Enua to show her face at the Enua temple where she descended, and she cannot guarantee that every manifestation will have a deep memory. The immortal family has divine powers, but lacks the concept of time, due to their long lifespan, making it easy to forget. Judging from the young man's serious demeanor, he doesn't seem to be lying. She thought of a move and ordered Zixing to say, Can you read the poem written by the ruler in the story at the Enua temple and listen to it? She thought to herself, if you really have a bad memory of sex, you should be able to remember it after listening to the poem. If he still doesn't remember, it proves that the person who told him the story is fabricating it. Zixing clearly suffocated for a moment. Enua is not really forgetful, but he has really forgotten about that broken poem. When reading Fengshen Yeni before, he felt that the poetry recited by King Zhou's brother lacked literary talent, artistic conception, and philosophical reasoning. It was a 3 products. Why did he bother to remember that useless thing? Zixing's strong memory can be used as his arrogant capital. He frowned and pondered for a while, but it made him remember the last 4 lines of the poem. He thought proudly to himself, I only scanned that broken poem once at a glance. However, soon he had to regret his lustful memory. After only a few days of traveling, I unexpectedly met the goddess before ascending the throne. If Zixing can predict the identity of the other party, pretending to be mute or playing passers-by armor, can avoid disturbances on the ground. Unfortunately, his prior knowledge and foresight are all derived from novels. Alright, listen up. Zixing carried his hands behind his back and slowly chanted, Pear blossoms with rain compete for beauty, peony medicine, cage smoke Cheng Mei makeup, but with the ability to act seductively, retrieve the Prince of Changle. After listening to this poem, the woman with a unique color slowly savored its meaning. Her face changed from white to red, from red to green, from green to black. Finally, she was like a hornet's nest poked by Zixing, exploding with a bang. Zixing was not stung, but the seemingly calm little girl of Yongrong allowed him to experience the taste of magical sounds entering his brain, which also left him devastated. Why is the reaction so big? Zixing looked at her with a monster-like gaze. Zixing couldn't even listen anymore. I couldn't help but speak a fair sentence. It's not that serious, is it? Setting aside the identities of the monarch and goddess, the meaning in the poem is only that a man shows admiration to a woman. The angry expression on the woman's face was hard to dispel. As soon as Zixing teased her, her anger immediately surged again, like chicken blood. She shouted loudly, mortal monarch with only 100 years of life, how dare he dream of marrying a goddess and taking her back to the palace to blaspheme. His heart is to be punished, his words are to be detestable. Zixing is also a person born in the mortal world. From the perspective of mortals, he is extremely dissatisfied with the statement that gods are more noble than mortals and can stabilize the heads of mortals. Zixing snorted softly. I thought to myself, you didn't figure it out. In the sentence, retrieve the Prince of Changle, the word take was used, not marry. Otherwise, your loyal Enua worshipper would be even more furious. From a modern perspective, the word marry is equivalent to King Zhou's desire to elevate the deity Enua. The word take expresses that King Zhou only wanted Enua to be the mistress and did not intend to give her a name. I don't remember. Faced with such a major issue of principle, Zixing kept his mouth shut. Zixing looked at the seemingly smoking color woman on her forehead and thought to himself, isn't he the legendary cultivator? And he comes from a cultivation school and has met Enua with his teacher. From then on, the great young man became a loyal admirer of Enua. Oh, it's terrible. It's really like that, we need to dispel his idea of reporting to Enua. Don't take it too seriously, okay? In the country where the monarch is located in the story, there are many men who act recklessly and speak without restraint. The poetry written by that monarch is not out of style. Let's talk about Shui Pan, who is nicknamed the Overlord of the Red Chamber. His short and long sentences will make you laugh and cry even more. What are long and short sentences? A woman with a strong sense of color is quite eager to learn. Zixing's forehead was sweating profusely. Just put the 4 prefixes daughter sadness, daughter sorrow, daughter joy, and daughter joy at the beginning of a 7-character poem, with coherent and smooth meanings, add a rhyme at the end. In short, it can also be considered a category of poetry. Zixing tried to explain it in words that the other party could understand. What kind of long and short sentences did Shui Pan write? Is this kind of nonsensical thing also called poetry? Compared to these vulgar and despicable things, the blasphemy poem that the monarch recited at the Nuwa temple can simply be classified as one of the 800 righteous. It's so crazy. It's so unbelievable. The woman with the extreme color looked as if she had been severely hit. The shock that shocked the stunning woman who witnessed her home being destroyed by one of the 12 ancestral witches in the past, and the strong feeling that this crooked poem brings to her now, can be divided into the top 2. Back then, I was scared to death by the scene of the collapse of the sky and the earth. Now, it's disgusting to death. Zixing smiled and looked at the pitiful face in front of him, feeling devastated. He said to himself, "Humph, little one. You are a loyal believer of Nuwa, your brain has solidified, and you even reject a satirical poem that regulates life. I'm here to listen to Shui Dede's invincible life-taking poem, in Dream of the Red Chamber, and I see if you're too embarrassed to report it to Nuwa." Zixing felt a surge of pleasure in her heart. Who said men can't be careful with their eyes? Just as Zixing was feeling proud, he suddenly felt a strange itch coming from his left chest. A typical case of extreme joy leading to sorrow. He instinctively raised his hand to scratch his chest. Reached halfway and stopped again. Zixing suddenly remembered. It was like the part where 10,000 ants were crawling, wasn't it the part where he lost a heart? According to common sense in daily life, there will be a itching sensation when wounds heal and new muscles grow. But he doesn't even have a heart, how can the inside of the wound heal legally? Is it possible to have a new heart? As soon as this strange and bold idea emerged, Zixing himself felt amused. From the perspective of the extremely lustful woman, it seems that upon seeing Zixing suddenly behaving abnormally, a handsome old man suddenly covered his heart and mouth with his hand, imitating the posture of a Western scholar holding his heart. Occasionally, he would nauseously sigh in his mouth. The woman with extreme color didn't know that Zixing was being disturbed by the numb and itchy taste in her heart, and thought that this guy had hidden personality disorder. She was unlucky enough to bump into his illness. Zixing exposed her ugly appearance for a while, and unintentionally looked up and glanced at the absolutely lustful woman. Suddenly, a shocked expression appeared on his face, to the point where he paused the sound of an unhealthy association. Zixing opened his mouth wide and stared at her steadily. "What's wrong with you?" asked the absolutely lustful woman. It looks like Zixing is staring at her, but in fact, he is staring at those sudden messages. In his left eye, a transparent information box appeared, listing information about the little girl in front of him. Name. Nuwa cultivation location. Buzhou Mountain spiritual root. Yes, woody heavenly root, cultivation. Sage realm reputation. 10 million points treasure. Mountain, river, and country map alliance forces. Shichi and Jiuli hostile forces. Yin Shang, quasi, Zixing forgot the numbness and itching in her chest, and incredulously reached out her finger to the little girl Ju Sei, bursting into a wild boar-like howl. "Oh my goodness, you're actually Nuwa. How could I be so unlucky?" Chapter 4. The Wulong case caused by the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Wulong case caused by the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. This chapter is free of charge. You knew early on that I was Nuwa, right? Nuwa said expressionlessly. No. I didn't initially guess that you were the compassionate Nanhai, compassionate and not Zhou Shan Nuwa Empress. Saw Rui. Zixing certainly denies the other party's false accusations. In his eagerness, he came out with foreign language and almost blurted out the words, Great Compassion and Mercy of Guanyin Bodhisattva in the South China Sea. As for the strange phenomenon of data suddenly appearing in the eyes, there is no psychological understanding now. Nuwa made a pretty face or cursed Zixing on the spot, making Zixing feel safer. Her calm reaction now looks like the tranquility before a storm. Zixing felt the coldness in his vest. Humph. The truth is in front of me, and I can't rely on it even if I want to. Nuwa said indifferently, marry back to Chang'e to serve the king. What a great, marry back to Chang'e to serve the king. I was so careless. Isn't there a palace called Chang'e in the Chaoga Palace? Chang'e Palace is the sleeping quarters of Emperor B's third son, Prince Shou Xian. It is said that Prince Shou is only 17 years old this year, with a strong and powerful appearance, and your conditions perfectly match. Are you Prince Shou, right? The matter of identity is easy to verify and difficult to deny. Zixing could only admit, I am the king of longevity, that's right. But I really didn't know you were the esteemed Empress Nuwa. He felt extremely aggrieved in his heart. How can you tell the truth without anyone believing you? No wonder people like to lie. Knowing my identity, but intentionally confronting and humiliating me in person, such a heinous act. We must accept punishment. Nuwa announced calmly in her voice. Zixing stopped working and said, your whereabouts are uncertain. I don't have the ability to predict anything. How did I know you were coming to Qintang Pass? Besides, did you initiate a conversation with me? I am about to become a saint at Shentangwen, and I have already informed Li Jing about this half a month ago. Li Jing is a son of Kunlun Mountain and has had a chance encounter with me before. Nuwa said arrogantly, you are the third prince of the great Shang Dynasty, and you have been idle in Li Jing's mansion for many days. What's strange about knowing that I am about to become a saint? Zixing secretly complained in his heart. Li Jing should have informed the king of longevity that Goddess Nuwa is about to become a saint. The legitimate brand Xian has been stranded in the Li mansion for a long time, and it is likely that he has the idea of seeking immortality. Nuwa was really stimulated today. I'm afraid I haven't talked as much as I did tonight in a typical year. She saw Zixing standing in front of her without a snort, thinking he was speechless, and decided to pull her neck and wait for a poke. Nuwa's jade teeth lightly lifted and she sang in a singing tone, a cavity of red blood sprinkles on the sky, washing the rivers and mountains for thousands of miles. Oh, why do these two lines of poetry sound so familiar to me? It seems that a modern literati has written similar lines of poetry. Does Nuwa like to recite a few words when she is in a bad mood? Strange little god. Zixing looked at Nuwa with suspicion and confusion. But when Nuwa exerted her hand, she crushed the handle of the green oil umbrella. A half-foot small scroll appeared in her delicate jade hand. The umbrella fell to the ground and rolled away. Nuwa lightly waved her jade arm, and the scroll was suspended in the air. When it unfolded, it reached a length of 9 meters. That is a landscape painting, with a freehand style of ink and wash, suitable in intensity and natural in nature. Oh no, not good. Damn it. Damn it. Upon witnessing this scene, the clever Zixing suddenly woke up and said in a loss of voice, the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. What you have released as a woman is the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. The mountain, river, and country map is said to be able to transform into an independent heaven and earth. The immortal who was included in this picture cannot come out without the permission of Nua. There is a rumor circulating in the cultivation world that apart from Nua, there are probably only a few people who can truly use this treasure, such as Tai Shang Lao Jun and Xian Yuan Da Di. The reason is comical. Besides the Nua temple, the most built temples in the world are the Taoist temple and Xianyuan temple. The space within the mountain, river, and country map requires the power of faith provided by all living beings to be maintained. Apart from Nua, only a few great deities have accumulated so much power of faith. A terrifying legend about the mountain, river, and country map flashed through his mind, and Zixing had an impulse to hit the wall. Nua really looks up to him. She actually wants to use the mountain, river, and country map to deal with him as just an ordinary person. What's the difference between this and missiles hitting mosquitoes? A storm in a teacup. No wonder people often say, big breasts without brains. The world within the mountain, river, and country map is naturally not like the 18 layers of hell in the underworld, where various forms of torture are displayed. Its most distinctive feature is loneliness. The infinite expanse of beautiful mountains and rivers, the infinite expanse of heaven and earth, yet you are the only one experiencing life, aging, illness, and death inside. To live is to live alone, to die is to die alone. The creatures in the world depicted in the picture are either driven crazy by loneliness or become numb like walking corpses. Don't you ordinary people yearn for immortal fate? I will let you stay in the mountains, rivers, and countries map for 100 years, and see if you can achieve success. After crossing through Zixing, it was the first time that he brought the national curse to a different world and carried it forward. There's nothing he can do, he's just too angry. He doesn't have any cultivation secrets, no elixir or medicine, and even the existence of a spiritual root is unknown. Surprisingly, he was asked to start from scratch in the mountains, rivers, and countries map. This is clearly to indirectly shut him down as a little black room. Women, another synonym for you is unreasonable, the second synonym is revenge for one's grievances, the third synonym is narrow-minded. Alright, you did something wrong and should accept punishment. Please come in. With a hint of regret, Nua gave Zixing a deep glance. Don't be impulsive, impulsiveness is a devil. The floating landscape of mountains, rivers, and kingdoms emitted a soft white light. A little light escaped from the painting, impartial, and fell into Zixing's forehead. Zixing has practiced martial arts in his past life, and in this life, his body is also of excellent quality, with a strong and agile joint reaction. But the time when the white light appeared was too short, and the speed was extremely fast. He didn't have time to react and was hit. Zixing was greatly surprised. Immediately, he felt a huge force enveloping him, his feet slowly hanging in the air, moving forward like a puppet. Looking at the direction, I was actually trying to drag him into the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. He roared angrily like an injured wolf. Nua's eyes flashed with a hint of impatience. I thought to myself. If he behaves well, it won't concern him for the rest of his life. Lock him up for 20 years and release him. He missed the opportunity to compete for the throne of the great Shang Dynasty, so he compensated him with a top-notch chi refining technique. Zixing's eyes were red with blood, and he found it difficult to resist the tremendous pulling force. He straightened his heart, and as he passed by Nua, he suddenly exerted force, his hands opening and closing like pliers, tightly embracing Nua. Nua was distracted by her thoughts and was caught off guard by him. This involves a problem of height calculation. Nua looks slender, but in fact, she is one head shorter than Zixing. With Zixing's feet off the ground, she hovered in the air, even higher than Nua's boss. Zixing was angry and didn't pay attention to a crucial part of his head. Instead, he had his first intimate contact with the beautiful woman's pretty face. Shameless, disciple, I want to kill you. Nyua's angry rebuke became stuttering and her authority greatly diminished as Zixing's hands tightly hugged her head and refused to relax at all. Chapter 5. Brother is also not easy to provoke. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Brother is not easy to mess with. This chapter is free, blasphemy. The blasphemy can't be more thorough. Previously, it was just a verbal advantage, but now even the physical advantage has been taken fiercely. Zixing can imagine how Nyua will be furious with thunder. He only had one thought left. It's over. Xiao Ming is going to end in the hands of a careful-eyed goddess. Suddenly remembered my parents who died in a car accident. When his parents passed away, Zixing was already 16 or 7 years old, and the excruciating pain of his passing left him utterly disillusioned. The reason why he later agreed to the couple as scammers and engage in some ugly activities that he used to strongly reject was largely based on his desperate attitude. Sorrow is greater than death in the heart. He lingered in a state of confusion and didn't choose to end it all, completely because his life was the last inheritance left to him by his parents. He couldn't and had no right to destroy this inheritance. He was inexplicably sent to this haunted place by lightning, and at first, he also experienced the long-lost sense of confusion again. The fear of unfamiliar environments made him eager to return to that decadent yet familiar world. When realizing that she might never be able to go back, Zixing's mood suddenly became completely empty. He is prepared to actively achieve something and surprise the arrogant immortals, if any, embarking on a brand new life from then on. Coincidentally, at this moment, the shadow of death made a comeback. To hang him in the hands of a goddess with the name of universal love. It's too ironic. Which ninth-rate writer created this dog blood plot? Zixing suddenly felt resentful in his heart. I am not willing to accept it. What about blasphemy? Blasphemy counts as hair. The goddess is afraid of being desecrated, so she might as well become the Western deity, N.Winged angel. 99% of these angels have no sexual distinction. Of course, no man would want it. Even if the despicable thief's body is shattered to pieces, the imprint of shame has been firmly imprinted in the depths of her soul. Make it difficult for her to remember in the long years to come. Nyua was extremely angry in her heart. Full of dazzling light. Zixing's heart was also filled with hatred, her eyes bloodshot. Just about to stage a clash of anger and anger, the entanglement of hate and hate at this moment, a transparent information box appeared again above Zixing's left eye. Immediately following the red color text in the box, it is exceptionally prominent, Spark Attack Skill Warning. You have left 3 sparks on your opponent. The opponent is about to self-ignite. That spark will disappear after 5 minutes of self-ignition. The opponent is about to enter a dangerous state, please quickly disengage from her. Spark Attack. Isn't this a common newbie attack skill in the game of Fengshen? Although the level is not high and the points required for beginners to use are very low, that is not the key point at all. The key is why did this message appear at this time? Is it an illusion? At the mouth of Zixing's heart, suddenly like a giant would being attacked, it flew back out. He smashed a big hole on the ground with an incredibly heavy weight. Zixing vomited 3 mouthfuls of fresh blood in a row, and his chest was torn and stained with blood, stained with filth. The information box in front of me has an indomitable Xiaoqiang spirit, still floating above Zixing's left eye, steadfastly updating the content, successfully unleashed the passive skill of Indomitable once. The opponent's attack has caused your chi and blood to decrease to 0. By using the unyielding skill, forcibly change the chi and blood value to 1 in order to withstand the current attack without dying. Warning. Your body is extremely weak. No game skills can be used until chi and blood are restored to 450 points and mana is restored to 450 points. Kind reminder. You have never received the Beginner Resource Pack. May I ask if you want to claim it now? Zixing no longer has any doubt that he has the skill to play the game of Fengshen. Is this the legendary, travel welfare? I should have come a long time ago. I should have come a long time ago. Zixing's eyes became moist with excitement. Knowing that my brother is practicing here. How painful it is to lack strength. Is that right? We can't engage in discrimination. It's his turn to cancel everything. However, the excitement was quickly suppressed. Zixing remembered that the information box clearly stated that he could no longer use any skills. However, it seems that the killing he is facing has not been lifted yet. Zixing's heart began to sink. Do you want to claim the beginner resource pack at this time? There must be some pills and medicines in the resource package that can quickly restore his strength. At least, it can be restored to the level where game skills can be used. But no matter how quickly it recovers, it will take 10 days and a half. Far water cannot save near fire. Besides, his opponent's strength is so strong that even with a bunch of strange skills, it is not enough to make them look at you directly at this stage. However, after putting in all her efforts, death has indeed come to her head today, and Zixing is determined to face it calmly. With a passionate heart, Zixing struggled to lift her head and turned her gaze to Enua. Finally, without realizing it, 3 self-igniting sparks were planted on her body, and the clothes on Enua's body didn't seem like any magic weapon. She had to taste the feeling of running naked once. The mystery of the goddess airport that surrounds Zixing will also be revealed at this moment. How can Zixing close her eyes without seeing the answer? Well, it's a very strange idea. Zixing's gaze fixed. He guessed right, Enua's robe was not particularly unique, it had been destroyed by a sudden flame. Her skin was burning in the flames, but there were no signs of anxiety. Zixing's gaze was first drawn to the lower body of the beautiful woman. He is loyal to the manipulation of the eyeball economy, and naturally wants to first see the most difficult scenery he usually sees. Everything that goes against this general direction, such as the mystery of the airport, can only be pushed back. Under the scorching flames, Enua collapsed to the ground without any image. The mountain, river, and country map that has been suspended in the air seems to have lost its support, its light dissipates, and it falls heavily to the ground. I don't know if it's an illusion, but her current appearance gives a feeling of immense weakness. After staring blankly for a while, Zixing came back to her senses and remembered to investigate whether the goddess had engaged in the almost self-abusive inhumane act of wrapping her breasts. With a reason in mind, Zixing looked up at Enua's upper body with a serious expression. The spontaneous spark suddenly extinguished. Zixing's eyes flickered, and the golden light in front of him flickered wildly, making him almost unable to open his eyes. In the case of insufficient qi blood, there are also waves of dizziness accompanying it. Being able to see things clearly again, I suddenly realized that the scene before me had greatly changed. It is a great transformation of Enua. At this moment, what she exposed in the air was no longer her pure white skin, but covered with tiny golden scales like fish scales. What is even more shocking is that her originally graceful and seductive lower body transformed into a snake body in the blink of an eye, covered in thin golden scales. The image of a beautiful snake in front of me is the true body of Enua's half-human and half-snake demon veins. At least some cultivation knowledge, Zixing still has it. Even the inability to maintain her human form proves that Enua is exhausted and extremely weak. Zixing's heart was confused. He really wants to admit that his character exploded, with 3 moves and 2 moves that dealt a heavy blow to the great deity in front of him. But his skin has never been thick enough to that extent. However, seeing Enua seriously injured, Zixing was uplifted. This cannot be blamed on his conscience being wilted. The reality is that the more unlucky Enua is, the safer he will be. What's wrong with you? Zixing wanted to know himself and his enemy. Speaking of which, before Enua launched the mountain, river, and country map to collect the Zixing into the interior. Suddenly, a palpitating aura surged around the old temple. This evil energy fiercely attacked Nuwa and crazily wanted to rush in while the Gate of Mountains and Rivers opened. In order to prevent the invasion of evil energy, the Shanha Shejidu closed itself off. Despite this, there were still many fast-moving evil energies rushing into it, causing the illusionary world to shake in a wave. It took half a pillar of incense to completely refine the evil energy in the mountain, river, and country map. Such a strong evil energy, chasing after the leader of the Tongtian sect who intercepted the teachings. Even if Nuwa were killed, she couldn't forget this evil energy. She is too familiar with it, that is the remnants of the ancient demon who fled during wartime and fought guerrilla warfare with her. The remnants of the ancient demon in the wilderness. Who is it? Zixing's forehead was filled with a bunch of question marks. Mysterious ancient demon from the wilderness, I never expected that I would ultimately be unable to completely eliminate you, and instead fall into your numerous tricks. Nuwa's beautiful face showed a mournful expression. Looking at her expression at this moment, Zixing's mind inexplicably showed the image of the Dr. Chu Yuan who threw himself into the river. Does this indicate that she also wants to commit suicide? After a moment of self-mourning, Nuwa's face turned red and her piercing gaze forced her to look at Zixing. In this situation, is it interesting to pretend to be ignorant again? I spent 1,000 years chasing and annihilating this ancient demon soul. Can't I still recognize its aura? She said, being able to spend 1,000 years chasing and killing a soul proves her strong fighting spirit. It seems impossible to find something short-sighted. Zixing sighed somewhat disappointed and said innocently, do I have the aura of the ancient demon of the wilderness on me? You can cast a detection spell on me, see it clearly, and then draw a conclusion. A hint of anger appeared on Nuwa's face and she said, you know I've been defeated by Gumo and won't be able to use any spells in a short period of time. Your words are clearly mocking and entertaining me. Humph, you still need to use detection spells to prove it. Just now, when I was about to use the mountain, river, and country map to collect you, I had been lurking for a long time. The remnants of the ancient demon were willing to expose their whereabouts, take action to destroy them, and help you. After a round of reasoning, Nuwa finally came to the conclusion. If you don't agree to be its host, when it is seriously injured, it won't be able to hide from me in time, and there's no need to take action to save you. Upon hearing these words, Zixing couldn't help but suspect that the great deity in front of him had been possessed by Conan. Regarding the issue of not being possessed, Zixing's confidence is unshakable as a rock. Because the three skills that Zixing was suddenly able to use all came from the God-sealing game. No matter how impressive the ancient demon of the Honghuang who can fight against Nuwa for thousands of years, it is impossible to forge some game skills that it has never heard of, right? When Nuwa saw Zixing sinking and muttering silently, she thought he was afraid. She quickly struck an iron and said while it was hot, no matter what benefits that ancient demon promised you, you cannot believe it. It is now exhausted and temporarily housed in your body, living peacefully together. When it regains some of its vitality, it will embark on a journey to seize and abandon you. If you don't find a way to get rid of it now, it will be too late to regret it. Zixing pursed her lips. The residual souls of ancient demons or ferocious beings possessed. This kind of scene in the text is outdated. Even if he is truly possessed, he is not afraid. Anyway, as long as you are certain that you are a pig's foot. A good soul that doesn't want to steal its soul, it will become a great help for your entrepreneurship and cultivation. If you want to capture the fierce soul of your meat shed, you must take a bento and become a member of the army of running dragon sets. Even worse, they are absorbed and refined by the evil pig feet in turn. Chapter 6. The Demon Fetus is. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Demon Fetus is. This chapter is free. Fengshen world, more than modern society, believes in the concept of strength first. The so called strength, in simple terms, refers to the competition of three major items. Hard fist, martial arts value, more younger brothers, slow power, and excellent equipment, magic level. In Zixing's memory of Fengshen Yeni, the strength of King Zhou and King Wu of Zhou is reflected in their understanding of forming factions. Immortal Taoist friends defected to them one by one, and then were thrown to the front line as cannon fodder by the two great emperors after clearing their warehouses and selling them off. Taoists often release their magic weapons when they lose a fight. There are many cases where a magic weapon turns defeat into victory, causing opponents to flee in despair. Nu was able to fulfill the mission entrusted to her by history because she had a scroll of the map of mountains, rivers, and countries in her hand. The people entrusted her with the important task of refining stones and repairing the blue sky. The map of mountains, rivers, and kingdoms transformed a world, relying on the power of chaos at that time. The power of chaos filled the world before the opening of Hongmeng, and it was not worth it. For ordinary organisms during the flood and famine period, it is equivalent to the exhaust emitted by cars in big cities, and excessive inhalation is not beneficial to health. So, it's necessary to create a new world and bring fresh air to the world. As heaven and earth separate, the power of chaos gradually dissipates. After the passage of 100,000 years. It seems that overnight, the power of chaos has become a scarce resource in the cultivation world. That's because a cultivator who refused to reveal his name revealed a secret he accidentally discovered. The power of chaos can help cultivators quickly improve their cultivation. Oh, no wonder there are still divine beasts from the flood and famine period who can live to this day, even stronger than the heavens. TSK, what kind of cultivation conditions are they using chaos power as bathing water? The cultivation group has exclaimed more than once, born too late, missed the golden period of cultivation. Complaining about social injustice is not the style of NUA. It's not too late to realize the wonderful use of the power of chaos now. Find it. It is said that the Eastern Emperor Tai once sealed his treasure, Chaos Clock, in a certain place on the land of Zhongzhou to protect heaven and earth. The Chaos Clock contains a vast power of chaos. So, I asked my elder brother Fushi to use the technique of Bagua deduction to speculate on the approximate burial location of the Chaos Bell. The seed of the Chaos Power was collected from the Chaos Clock. After consuming countless rare materials and finally adding the seed of chaos, it took over 1,000 years to finally refine the top-level treasure of mountain, river, and country map. The number of recognized top-level treasures within the immortal circle has increased to 4. The first 3 pieces are Tai Chi Diagram, Pengu Banner, and Chaos Bell. When the artifact was first created, it caught up in a great calamity. The mountain collapses and the sky tilts and the earth sinks. The best material for repairing the sky is the 5-colored stone. NUA is naturally strong and doesn't want to create a tofu residue project. But the 5-colored stones were extremely hard, and NUA could only refine 3 to 50 pieces in a day with her magical power. The amount of 5-colored stones required for repairing the sky is astonishing, at least over 1 million pieces. In other words, just refining 1 million 5-colored stones would require NUA to work day and night for 30 years. Mending the sky is really not a human job. 30 years is just a moment of life for NUA. However, she could afford it, but the disaster-stricken people on Earth couldn't wait that long. There is no better way to refine the 5-color stone besides using the power of chaos. Okay, use the power of chaos. The collapsed one corner of the sky has been repaired, and the chaos power has been completely consumed. The mountain, river, and country map has lost its function of transforming a part of heaven and earth. He is also a clever Fushi brother, providing advice for his younger sister. The final plan adopted was to replace the power of chaos with the power of faith, and rebuild a part of the world within the map of mountains, rivers, and countries. NUA transformed a world with her own beliefs, and the map of mountains, rivers, and countries was deeply imprinted with her imprint. To be driven by her, like using her arms and fingers. Other immortals, such as Tai Shang Lao Jun, who want to refine the mountain, river, and country map into their own, must first expel the power of Nua's faith, and use the power of his own faith to transform the heaven and earth within the map. The project is vast. Tai Shang Lao Jun has countless treasures of his own, such as the Tai Chi diagram, Bagua stove, wind and fire Putuan, Qiankuan diagram, Biangguai. He wouldn't be foolish enough to form a strong grudge and covet Nua's treasures. However, not all Taoist friends can be as wealthy and clear-headed as Tai Shang Lao Jun. The demons, ghosts, and demons that covet the treasure map have gone to the sea, and forming an army is not a problem. The dangerous scene of being ambushed 1,000 years ago is still vividly remembered by Nua today. On a certain day and month in a certain year, Nua went to the Nua temple in the capital to perform her pilgrimage. During the flight, a black mist suddenly appeared in the clear sky. The demon wrapped in a fog launched the most fierce attack on Nua without saying a word. Nua fell into the unnamed demon formation located in the narrow valley of Shouyang Mountain in a free fall posture from high altitude. With mental calculation but no intention, Nua accidentally stumbled upon the path. Nua was shocked to find that the demon who unleashed the terrifying aura had no lower cultivation than her. Moreover, it carries an aura of chaotic power on its body, although weak, it cannot hide from Nua. In the mysterious demon formation, placed in the open, what is visible is a high-hanging magic flag adorned with 90.9 and 80.1 skulls. This banner seems to be equipped with a satellite navigation and positioning system, which locks onto a target of Nua. It flashes with lightning and thunder, constantly greeting Nua with Jiao Lei. 21 magic mirrors are hidden in the formation, appearing and disappearing in the mysterious formation. Once the magic mirror appears, it will absorb the high-altitude, purple electricity and shoot out an astonishing power of purple light. At that time, Nua's mount, the cloud-piercing snow sculpture, was illuminated by purple light and immediately turned into a pool of thick blood. Nua used all her skills and spent a full 6 months to escape from the mysterious formation and retrieve a sexual life. Every time she uses the mountain, river, and country map, a tremendous evil energy rushes towards the gate of mountains and rivers in the main formation, showing a strong intention to capture the mountain, river, and country map. Therefore, upon reflection, Nua inferred that the ancient demon who had set up the formation was trying to steal her treasure map. There are all kinds of magical treasures in the world, and this cultivation has also reached the realm of sage. You can refine top-level magical treasures on your own. Why do you have a special affection for her country? Is there another ulterior motive? I can't figure it out, Nua really can't figure it out. After escaping from the formation, Nua, holding back her anger, turned around and pursued the mysterious ancient demon for thousands of years. So, don't underestimate the goddess's revenge. Poor Zixing, she has completely offended her. At least for 1,000 years, don't think about a peaceful life. In her leisure time chasing after ancient demons, Nua pondered the technique of lightning killing within the mysterious formation, similar to Qin Tianjuan's heavenly Jew formation. The technique of purple light shooting to materialize blood is similar to the golden light array of the golden light Holy Mother of Jijiao. Nua personally came to the door and questioned Qin Tianjun and the golden light Holy Mother. The two naturally denied any connection between them and the mysterious ancient demon. The location of the ambush was within the territory of Dashang. Nua highly suspected that there was something fishy between members of the imperial family of the Shang Dynasty and ancient demons. Hating the house and Wu, it was from the beginning of a year that Nua developed a deep hatred towards the royal family that ruled the great Shang Dynasty. Zixing is unclear about the details of the grudge between Nua and the mysterious ancient demon. He lay across from Nua, with a serious expression on his face, and remained silent for a long time. He seemed to be seriously considering Nua's advice, but in fact, he was secretly taking a break and trying to put a bold idea in his mind into action. When his HP dropped to a historical low of 1 and he was unable to use any skills, the information collection box suspended in front of his left eye still did not disappear and was still diligently filtering useful information for Zixing. Zixing suspects that using this box does not consume points of chi and blood and mana. Perhaps he can unconditionally control and use it. When he faces a threat, it will also automatically jump out to serve him. To verify the conjecture, Zixing tried to give it a command. Help me search for the specific location of the remnant soul that was enemies of Nua. The difficulty coefficient of this task seems to be a bit high. The goddess Nua is so familiar with the aura of the remnants of the ancient demon, and she definitely uses spells like divine sense detection, but she still allows the remnants of the ancient demon to escape time and time again. What does this mean? It indicates that ancient demons must also have secret techniques to conceal their aura and evade detection. That small frame was gifted to him as a guiding tool. Zixing dare not expect a guiding tool to turn his long-admired divine sense into a second-rate color. So, without hesitation, he assigned such a task to the framework, and immediately felt amused. Why did brother give such a command of 205? Well, let's start over. What kind of simple task would you like to test? At this moment, an unexpected situation occurred. Within the transparent frame, the full-screen text disappears in an instant. Instead, it was a colorful baby face that filled the entire floating frame. The baby's facial features are small and beautiful, but the skin color is slightly red. With his eyes slightly closed, he seemed to be sleeping soundly, with an indescribable and lovable feeling. Zixing was not in the mood to appreciate the cuteness of the baby. Just now it has been proven that even with 0 mana and health points, floating frames can still be used, and this mutation occurred before us. He hasn't had time to be happy yet. Can frames also be infected with Trojan viruses like computer systems? Is this coming from the baby fat Trojan program? I have to admire it. Zixing, this guy is too talented. I dare to think of anything chaotic. The framework is completing its task with a hint of ease. On the right side of the baby image, a simple text explanation appears. The ancient demon's residual soul attacked Nua and suffered a heavy blow from Nua's divine power, possibly disappearing at any time. The residual soul has chosen to merge with an unborn baby in the Li mansion. The entire process is irreversible. Ha! Zixing couldn't help but laugh proudly 3 times. The most ideal result is just that. Nua was seriously injured, and the killings from her side have been temporarily suspended. Next, Zixing was only worried that when the ancient demon residual soul, hiding in the dark, jumped out and collected the spoils of war, mountain, river, and country map, he also casually gave it to him. Isn't he even more unjust than Do-e? Now, the remnants of the ancient demon's sneak attack on Nua has also resulted in an equally unfortunate outcome. The remaining soul had to carry out the act of seizing and giving up in advance. Seizing one's possessions is an act that goes against the heavens and is highly susceptible to punishment, making it a high-risk behavior. In order to increase the success rate of snatching, the remnants of the ancient demon could only pick a weak fetus by pinching their nose. I'm really going back and forth the more I live. Ha! The ancient demon of the Honghuang turned into a placenta, and from then on, it was not enough to cause trouble. Even if they make a comeback and cause harm to the world, it will still be a headache for people hundreds of years later. Before the 4th silly laugh could come out, Zixing suddenly remembered something and his face changed greatly. He repeated the most crucial words absent-mindedly, Li, the baby of Li Mansion. A feeling of extreme unfamiliarity instantly gripped his nerves, causing him to breathe rapidly. The floating frame switched the screen again. What is displayed to Zixing this time is the full picture of the baby. That is indeed a baby still staying in the womb. Ha! Why is a baby still in the uterus surrounded by a piece of red silk? Is there a golden bracelet with 4 shining rays on the right hand? Do unborn children also know how to be shy? But Zixing couldn't laugh. Such a unique and independent fetus cannot be found in the world. Apart from Chintunguan Li Jing's wife Yin Shi, who was pregnant for 3 years and 6 months before giving birth to the 3 princes of Neza, who else is there? The golden bracelet of the baby set is a Qianquan circle, surrounded by a red silk called Huntian Ling. Both are top-notch treasures with the magical ability of turning the river and the sea. The annotation text that appeared immediately after the floating frame proved Zixing's speculation. The baby possessed by a mysterious residual soul is the 3rd son of General Li Jing of Qintang Pass. It has not been named yet. Zixing felt like being in an ice cave, with waves of coldness surging into her heart. The eye power of the mysterious residual soul is truly indescribable. Other babies are no exception. The monster it chose stayed in its mother's womb for 3 years and 6 months before coming out, but it was a stubborn troublemaker, who knew how to speak from birth and caused trouble all day with 2 treasures. If the remnants of the ancient demon were to dig deep into the evil side of Neza and infinitely develop it, I'm afraid that the birth of a big demon that makes people tremble will become a definite thing. Even worse, the remnants of the ancient demon could not wait for a long time and directly took over Neja's physical body. Then, without stopping, when searching for Nua's misfortune again, they could still easily give him a knife that's too bad. Zixing shuddered with fear, his face gloomy like water. Chapter 7. The Novice Gift Bag is really awesome. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Novice Gift Bag really awesome. This chapter is free. Nua waited impatiently for Zixing's reply. From her perspective, Zixing's mental state seems to be hovering on the brink of losing control. For a moment, there was a mix of surprise and joy, as if one was about to faint with happiness at any moment. In an instant, he laughed 3 times like a madman, with a sinister aura in his laughter. Finally, this guy named Zixing couldn't get enough of it and began to have a gloomy face, pretending to be deep. It is said that women and politicians are fickle. This Sun Xin is also fickle like a woman. Does it not mean that he has an imperial mandate? Is there any hope of becoming the largest politician of the Yin and Shang dynasties? Hey, do you need to think about what I just mentioned to you for so long? Nua's face was full of anger, and she repeated her sentence several times before Zixing woke up from her lost mood. Looking at Nua, Zixing suddenly felt like a black laborer whose rights could not be guaranteed. The great deity in front of him is naturally an unscrupulous capitalist who exploits and oppresses him. Zixing's anger was even stronger than hers, and she said in a wicked voice, "You just asked me to break with the soul of the ancient demon. I wasn't deaf, I heard you. Humph, think you're still a saint. How dare you ask me to be a mortal to fight against the ancient demon? It's almost like being a cannon fodder. Just use your mouth and give me spiritual support." Nua had never been so challenged by a mortal before, her face turning red and anger rising from her heart. But on second thought, Zixing's performance just now seemed abnormal. And, does this kid still do less blasphemy? A typical, dead pig is not afraid of boiling water, little rascal. Humph, there's no need to argue with a mentally deranged semi-lunatic. Zixing doesn't know if she should feel honored or fearful. Unexpectedly, he was once granted 3 major titles by the renowned goddess. Dead pig. Little rascal. Half crazy. If I had a 5-colored stone that could increase my cultivation speed 10 times, I would give it to you. Would you like to? Nua offered an irresistible condition. Is it the kind of 5-colored stone used to repair the blue sky? Zixing's eyes lit up. Immediately, he gossiped and asked a question that could easily lead to misunderstandings. How much more do you have? The last piece. Enua looked down on his greed. Zixing thought to himself, oh, there's only one piece left. In other words, it is the five-colored stone that absorbs the essence of the sun and the moon and becomes Jia Baoyu thousands of years later. If I use this five-colored stone to cultivate, wouldn't I become the ruthless Jia Baoyu Terminator? If you make up your mind to break away from the ancient demon residual soul lurking in your body, I will use the five-colored stone for you. I won't worry too much. Anyway, you can't afford it. Enua said in a rich second-generation tone. However, she thought to herself, one size fits all. Giving you 5 stones of color doesn't mean I won't settle your repeated humiliations on me. Zixing originally wanted to argue that he had not fallen to the point where he could share a body shell with the remaining soul. Upon hearing Enua throw the bait of the 5-colored stone, Zixing cleverly shut her mouth. Silent voice makes a fortune. But inevitably, I have doubts and doubts in my heart. Is Enua so trusting of me? If I get the 5-colored stone and don't work hard for her, wouldn't she have to lose a lot of money? Is she that stupid? Isn't it just a random colored stone to coax me? With suspicion in mind, Zixing looked at Enua with her eyes and said, does this goddess girl also have the potential to set up a street stall in Panjiayuan to sell antiques? Enua was not clear about his inner thoughts, so she said to him seriously, you must not hold the mentality of taking chances by stepping on 2 boats. Once you inhale the 5 elements of heaven and earth essence, contained in the 5 colors stone, into your body, you can only practice the immortal family technique. Although the techniques of the demon and demon clans have a quick effect, you cannot touch them in your lifetime. Xin said, as long as you practice with the 5 colors stone, it is equivalent to being under a tight spell, and it is impossible for you to associate with the demon clan again. Got it. Got it. Jia Bao, get the 5-colored stones quickly. I slipped my tongue for a moment and almost referred to the last 5-colored stone as Jia Baoyu. I really don't know what the remnants of the ancient demon have in mind about you, choosing you as their host and maintaining you everywhere, sighed Enua. The implication is that Zixing is not up to par. I look down on people. I don't know who took the initiative to approach my brother before. Enua reluctantly stroked the storage ring on her right index finger. The light flickered, and Zixing's eyes were illuminated with light and shadow. After finally recovering normal vision, it was discovered that a large stone that could be used to build a rockery appeared out of thin air on the ground between him and Enua. Good guy, at least it weighs over 1,000 pounds. Zixing is a bit dumbfounded. In my impression, the 5-colored stones are only as big as watermelons. The 5-colored stones in TV dramas are as small as eggs. He can't even move such a big piece in front of him. Why don't you just give it a free storage ring? Zixing's tone sounded like when he was buying pork at the market, asking the butcher to give him an extra plastic bag of meat. Otherwise, I'll have to hire someone to get it back to Chowga. It's very dangerous. Treasures can't be exposed in vain. I'll find a way to solve it myself, Nua said expressionlessly. Alright, I'm leaving now. Zixing, I won't forget the mistake you made. I'll spare you today. When I recover from my injuries, I'll come back to find you. If you're willing to fall and feed demons with your own body, I'll destroy your physical body together. If you're determined to devote yourself to the Tao, I'll lock you up in the state map for 20 years and impose some punishment. What a woman. This is. They are all injured like this and still threaten people. Don't be afraid of my brother getting angry for a moment. What did you do? Carry out the blasphemy to the end. Reaching the height of rewriting mythological history. Suddenly remembering what Enua had just said, there was another very important information. What? You just said you're leaving. Zixing asked in surprise. I thought to myself, in your current situation, you have been bullied by bad people on the way. Don't blame me. However, Nuy ignored him and the golden snake slowly moved its half-body. Its tail flexibly hooked onto the scroll of mountains, rivers, and countries. Zixing only felt her scalp explode. I don't know where I came from, but I suddenly jumped up from the ground and quickly retreated to the corner of the wall. I glared at Nuy and shouted, "Do you want to use the mountain, river, and country map to deal with me again?" Nuy looked at Zixing, who was like a formidable enemy, with a somewhat wry smile and thought to herself. Am I the kind of god who goes back and forth? There was no need to explain it to him, but she still explained that all treasures above the 7th grade have the function of planting people and flying. The level of a magic weapon is that the lower the number, the higher the level. The 7th grade magic weapon can also fly, but the speed difference between it and the 1st grade magic weapon is thousands of times higher. One speed is like a space rocket, and the other speed is like a hot air balloon. Nuy left in a top-tier magic weapon for a long time, but Zixing still felt like she was dreaming. Is this how I found my life? Zixing's mood cheered for a while, almost ready to dance the happy Wulong dance. A round face of a baby suddenly flashed through my mind. Zixing's movements became stiff. The cute little face of the baby, at this moment, made Zixing feel a chill in her heart. Oh my! How could you forget that batch? Now, in the eyes of Zixing, the Li General's mansion at Chintang Pass is nothing more than a super bomb depot. This place is not suitable for prolonged stay. After such a thought came to mind, Zixing decided to ask Li Jing to allocate some loyal and reliable personnel to him tomorrow at dawn, and immediately move the 5 colored stones onto the carriage, take the way back to Chaoga, and stay away from the land of trouble. The 5 colored stones were placed in the old temple, so heavy that the small bandits who ran alone couldn't take them away. But this thing is too precious, Zixing doesn't want to leave it here and runs back to the house to sleep. After much thought, Zixing decided to stay and see Shouwu's color stone. If you don't sleep all night, it's not a big deal. Losing 5 stones of color may make your intestines regretful. It's still quite some time before dawn, what should I do to pass the time? Got it. Zixing, with a hint of anticipation, focused her attention on the floating transparent frame and thought to herself. I want to claim the resource pack. Please check. The next level required to receive the resource pack is level 5. Zixing was pleasantly surprised and said, after receiving the beginner gift package and meeting the requirements, can you still receive the gift package? Are the benefits so good? What level is this level 5 equivalent to? A commentary immediately appeared within the frame, newcomers can receive a newcomer resource gift pack. In the future, players will receive a promotion resource gift pack for every level they level up. The 5th level of the player is equivalent to the 1st level of chi refining for cultivators, the 10th level is equivalent to the 2nd level of gas refining, 15 levels equals 3rd level of chi refining. When a player reaches 60 levels, which is the foundation building realm of cultivation, they need to upgrade every 500 levels to receive a promotion resource gift package. Oh! The resources obtained in the early stages of cultivation are abundant, sighed Zixing. It's different. For every 5 levels increase, players receive a bronze level promotion gift package. For every 500 levels increase, players receive a silver level promotion gift package. The number and grade of items in the gift package vary greatly. Well, these rules have undergone significant changes compared to the game, Fengshen game, played by Zixing on Earth. I think the game system has undergone significant changes through the baptism of time travel. You, as a living person, can become the King of Zhou through time travel, but you cannot expect the game system to remain unchanged. The game system, although lifeless, does not hinder its pursuit of perfection and desire. Zixing secretly calculated that it takes 60 levels to reach the 12th level of chi refining for cultivators. Zixing once asked Li Jing about the realm division of cultivators. This belongs to the common sense of the cultivation world. You can tell him that Li Jing did not conceal it. Before becoming an immortal, there were a total of 7 realms, from low to high, which were refining qi, building foundations, forming pills, forming elemental infants, exiting the body, reshaping, and crossing tribulations. Among them, qi refining is divided into 12 levels, while other levels only have primary and advanced levels. The realm after becoming an immortal is Earth Immortal, Heavenly Immortal, Golden Immortal, Star Lord, Little Saint, Quasi-Saint, and Saint. The cultivators in the qi refining stage are just small ks in the realm of cultivation, and their future days are not easy to get by. With a sigh, Zixing's attention shifted to the virtual red package inside the frame. I thought to myself, will it open if I ask it to open it directly? As soon as he had any questions, the framework immediately responded. The vast majority of items in the resource pack can be directly placed in the real world. Only one of them requires players to have a certain level in order to bring them to the current world. Do you need to check the resource gift pack list first to determine which gifts you are preparing to extract? Zixing agreed. The virtual package in red has disappeared, replaced by a pile of text, 10 fusion stones. Help spirit beasts quickly master the beast clan skills provided by players. 50 phoenix feathers. Can regenerate high-level spirit beasts once 5 refining demon stones. Can help demon beasts complete evolution. The Dictionary of Cultivation Sect Skills includes all the skills of the 6 major cultivation sections. Jinghua Prefecture, Yushu Palace, Jiuli Clan, Helyuomen, Baiying Palace, and Kunlun Mountain, a bottle of Gu Shenwan. Can soothe tendons and promote blood circulation. Each bottle contains 90 standard pills, each pill restores 450 HP. A pack of Danshi powder. Clear mind after taking it. A bottle of Chaolu wine. Brewed with the essence of Chaolu, it is lush and fragrant, and recovers 900 mana per teaspoon. A bottle of Jeda wine. Rubbing the affected area can stop bleeding, promote muscle growth, promote blood circulation, and remove blood stasis. A bag of red spirit powder. It has a strong aroma and can dispel plague and detoxify. A bottle of Shenmai drink. Sour, sweet, and slightly bitter in taste, can nourish qi and enhance strength, repair damaged tendons and veins. A bottle of Pei Ling Dan. For those with impure spiritual roots, it can be used to enhance their spiritual root purity. Those with pure spiritual roots can increase their spiritual root level. Junior Spirit Stone. 1000 pieces Intermediate Spirit Stone. 100 pieces Advanced Spirit Stone. 10 pieces An Information Processor is included as a gift. Players can use it in any state. A long and substantial list filled Zixing's heart with joy. Despite the silence of the night, I laughed heartily for a few times, which was a cheap celebration. The Novice Resource Package is so Fengshen, salad of assorted fresh vegetables, that the feeling of Zixing upstarts has soared. In the future, when embarking on the path of cultivation, every time you successfully advance, you will receive a promotion resource package. TSK, the prospects are incredibly beautiful. Facing the strong, Zixing now has a harder waist and more confidence. Well, his feat made him a bit frivolous, producing an arrogance that dared to laugh at the lack of heroes in the world of cultivation. Rare confidence bursts. The feeling of youthfulness is really good. The frame cleverly did not respond and did not display warning words such as, "Warning, what are you doing?" Zixing happily said to Jifang, "So your scientific name is called Information Processor. This name is too rigid and unpleasant. In the future, would it be better to call you Jifang or Jifang? Let's still call it Frame. The above few words flash at the fastest speed. The framework is fighting for a pitiful bit of rights for itself. If the meaning of Zixing is true, and the nickname and is called Tayo, then it would be a loss of life. The information processor, this non-living thing, also needs to have no face to say goodbye to the elderly Jiangdong. Zixing is a true hero with a strong personality, and when excited, he talks a lot. Among the gifts that belong to me, the one that cannot be brought to the current world should be the pet beast, Soul Wolf, right? Zixing browsed through the resource list beautifully again and guessed. Soul Wolf, Junior Level 5 Spirit Beast. Players need to reach level 20 to bring junior spirit beasts to the current world. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot to ask. Why is there no cultivation method in the cultivation world on the list of the resource gift package? For example, 3-headed and 6-armed technique, 9-turning golden body technique, Sancheng true demon technique. And so on. Zixing was still unsatisfied and greedily questioned. Gongfa, which belongs to the obscure category, has been eliminated. It has been replaced by Game Skills Complete Collection. However, when players reach level 1060, they should receive a backup of Ancient Gongfa in the promotion gift pack they receive. To reach level 1060. Isn't that equivalent to the realm of cultivators in the pill-forming period? This is a bit troublesome. Zixing felt that it would be easier to rely on the identity of the crown prince of the great Shang Dynasty in the current world to directly find the legitimate descendants of the cultivation sect and deceive a few cultivation techniques. I read it in fragments for a while. Zixing has a new idea. Keep the gifts in the resource pack in a virtual state and store them in the box, which is a bit reassuring. Don't lose it for no apparent reason. Valuable items should be kept safe and secure by oneself. Zixing has another idea. Can't storage rings hold a lot of things? First, let the storage ring recognize the owner, and then stuff everything that belongs to me in. Well, even this 5-colored stone weighing 1,000 pounds was stuffed in. To prevent the treasure from appearing white. A command flashed through Zixing's mind. Claim the storage ring. A white light appeared out of thin air and landed in the palm of Zixing. Zixing moved his palm under his eyes and carefully admired it for a while. The texture is neither gold nor silver, and I don't know what material it is made of. The style looks unique and elegant, with a high taste. Zixing is only dissatisfied with one thing. Its color is white. More suitable for women to wear. But Zixing currently does not have the qualifications and conditions to pick fat and lean. He carefully placed the ring on his left index finger. At the moment of putting on the ring, Zixing had an illusion. The storage ring seemed to have briefly gained life, and took the initiative to bite Zixing's index finger. Zixing's index finger stabbed and was bitten by the ring, producing several drops of blood. Blood quickly melts into the storage ring. Immediately, the ring returned to its original state. Cold, with no signs of life. Zixing has a feeling of blending with its bloodline, confirming that the storage ring has recognized its owner. Zixing thought to himself. How should I check the space inside the storage ring? As soon as this idea emerged, his eyes began to be able to see through. Of course, the scope of perspective was strictly limited to the space inside the storage ring. Inside, it looks similar to an ordinary dilapidated wooden house. Now, there is nothing in the shabby wood house. The size is about 5 or 6 cubic meters. Zixing was very surprised and said, "Is this a storage space or a miscellaneous room? Why is it so small?" The space inside the storage ring can gradually expand as its owner's cultivation improves. That is to say, his Zixing's current strength is only worthy of owning a miscellaneous room. Frame, help me take out all the things that can be claimed from the beginner's gift pack and put them into the storage ring. In the virtual package of red colors, various beams of light constantly jump out and enter the storage ring of Zixing. Zixing glanced at the 5-colored stones, quietly placed aside and thought to himself, "Oh, you can't forget it." As soon as this thought came to an end, a light flashed on the surface of the 5-colored stone and disappeared out of thin air. Zixing looked down at the storage ring with some unease and found that the 5-colored stone was occupying half of the space in the storage ring alone with a domineering and powerful shooting. Zixing let go of his worries and thought with a hint of embarrassment. It seems that he is working hard to improve his cultivation and expand his storage space. The long night is lonely, but Zixing lives with a delicious taste. There is a type of gu shen wan in the gift bag. Taking one pill can restore 450 points of life and energy. When you use it, you have to use it. Good steel is used on the cutting edge, there is no need to give up. Zixing was honest and polite. He took out the bottle of gu shen wan from the storage ring, unscrewed the bottle cap, and poured out a red-colored pill the size of a longan with a fragrant aroma. Originally, it was best to soak this gu shen wan in hot water and take it. But Zixing had no strength to run back to his residence, so he simply put it in his mouth, chewed it carefully, and swallowed it. In a moment, Zixing felt a warm current surging in her lower abdomen, gradually spreading throughout her body. His strength is gradually recovering. It works. At this moment, Brother's character has been proven by history. Zixing's eyebrows widened and she smiled. By the way, there is also a Pei Ling Dan inside the gift bag that repairs and enhances the quality of spiritual roots. Zixing has never heard of this before. But this does not hinder Zixing's love and importance of Pei Ling Dan. His heart became hot, and he couldn't help but ask, "Frame, can you help me detect whether there is a spiritual root inside my body?" Frame is undoubtedly a model for practical work, without saying a word. In fact, it has not yet opened a voice system, a lot of text has appeared. This efficiency really makes a certain online writer locked in a small dark room sweat and envy. Zixing looked eagerly. Soon, his face became extremely colorful. Even those who are familiar with him find it difficult to determine whether the expression is happy or sad. Chapter 8. Heartbreaker's Second Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Heartbreaker's Second Attack. This chapter is free, this guy doesn't know how to cherish. Zixing shouted with a strange expression on his face. Romantically speaking, this guy named Shouwang can pull 9 cows upside down. The weight of the 9 ox itself, combined with the resistance generated by their crazy movements, requires at least 10,000 pounds of force from the Shouwang's arms to pull them backwards. A guy like Shouwang, who can tinker with things, is unlikely to have a spiritual root. Otherwise, no matter how hard he practices, he won't be able to pull the 9 oxen upside down. Zixing boldly speculated that the spiritual root of King Zhou must have taken an extreme path, either extremely outstanding or extremely useless. Either it is a waste spiritual root with a complete collection of the 5 elements, or a heavenly spiritual root with a single genus. This speculation is irrational. Zixing has no reason, intuition is like that. When he saw that the spiritual root of Shouwang displayed on the frame was a single, heavenly spiritual root belonging to sex, he was not surprised. Before admiring his own clever calculation, Zixing was startled by the spiritual nature of the Shouwang. Surprisingly, it is the heavenly spirit root of the fire genus. Cultivation requires spiritual roots. In the eyes of practitioners, the most useless among peers are the 5 spirit roots, followed by the 4 spirit roots, 3 spirit roots. The best is the single spirit roots. Ordinary people may wonder, why isn't having more spiritual roots better? That's because cultivating one's spiritual power and perception. Perception is both profound and profound, with each having its own set of insights, and spiritual power is spiritual power, which belongs to hardware indicators. Spiritual power mainly comes from various micro-energies filled in the air, referred to as the 5 elements power, by ancient people. Of course, it is not for cultivators to desperately absorb the 5 elements power into the dantian to obtain a large amount of spiritual power, break through the bottleneck, ride a rocket-like rocket to break through one realm after another, and finally cross the calamity into immortality. The acquisition of spiritual power is a long process. Breaking down, absorbing, refining, and accumulating the power of the 5 elements. Various types of sexual energy mix together and flow into your body, turning your elixir field into a battlefield for the 7-nation battle. You may not have the ability to mediate disputes among various lords, but why do you talk about cultivation? Just like how cannons can explode if they are not filled with fire, medicine, sulfur, or other materials in proportion. Cultivation is not about treating guests or writing articles, it is a special adventure that may cost one's life. With a single spiritual root, cultivators can calmly choose the energy of heaven and earth that belongs to the same sex as you, absorb and refine it into their own spiritual power. The risk of cultivation has been minimized, while the speed of cultivation has increased to the fastest. So, the single spiritual root belongs to the pride of the cultivation world and is a sought-after item in various cultivation sections. Wulong has a fire spirit root and his qualifications are first class. The reason why Zixing exclaimed that he did not understand how to cherish was because Zixing could be certain that King Zhou was not a cultivator at all. The ultimate outcome of King Zhou's romance was being burned alive in the star-picking tower. If King Zhou had practiced techniques such as fire-related nature, and had a constitution that resisted fire, he would not have chosen the time-consuming and laborious method of death, and other ways of suicide should be considered, such as hanging oneself, throwing oneself into the river, and taking rat poison. Zixing discovered that he could observe the scenes within his small sea of consciousness. Surrounded by clouds and mist, a bamboo appeared, red as blood. Zixing knew that it was his own spiritual root. As he witnessed with his own eyes, he finally firmly believed that the Shou King had a single, fire spirit root. Moreover, Zixing counted the nodes of the red bamboo, and surprisingly, it reached 9 nodes. From the materials just provided by Frame, Zixing knows that this is the highest number of sections of spirit root. The number of spiritual roots represents indicators of the practitioner's enlightenment, cultivation speed, and other aspects. It seems that the aptitude of this Wulong is really amazing. I read it in fragments for a while. Zixing thought dirtily again, so it's better for you guys to hang up now. In history, there was one less tyrant and one more wise and talented ruler. The cultivation world has lost a lazy genius and gained a legend. My mind returns to the spiritual roots. Zixing thought again. I am now a single spiritual root. The bottle of Pei Ling Dan in the beginner gift package that can enhance the level of spiritual roots seems to be useless to me. Well, we need to find a way to make some friends in the cultivation world and sell the Pei Ling Dan to them at a high price. Just as the thought of wasting a lot of money came to mind, the words, warning, appeared on the floating frame again. Please don't give up on the peeling pill. You can also use this pill to evolve your heavenly spirit root into a alien spirit root. Zixing calmed down and said, what is a supernatural root? The golden spirit root has a golden color, the wood spirit root has a green color, the water spirit root has a blue color, the fire spirit root has a red color, and the earth spirit root has a brown color. This is the 5-element spirit root, also known as the primitive spirit root. The alien spirit root is a mutated spirit root. For example, the thunder spirit root with a purple color, the ice spirit root with a light blue color, the wind spirit root with a blue color, and the light spirit root with a white color, the dark spiritual roots of black color. Those who possess mutated spiritual roots can cultivate spiritual power that is 20.3% stronger than those of the original spiritual roots when used. Those with supernatural roots, once in 1,000 years, without exception, can become legends in the cultivation world. What kind of spiritual root can the fire spirit root mutate into? Zixing admitted to her lack of imagination. What is hotter than flames is the solution. You can use the peeling pill to mutate the fire spirit root into a dissolving spirit root. Don't think too much. Not taking advantage of the advantages is not in line with the style of Zixing. Besides, there is a whole bottle of Pei Ling Dan, intact, with 15 pills. What is using one of them? With a thought, the storage ring in his right hand delivered the bottle of Pei Ling Dan to his palm. Pour out a milky, white, and fragrant pill. Carefully put away the remaining, peeling pill first, and then Zixing stuffed the pill, medicine, held in his palm into his mouth. The pill quickly slipped into the abdomen. Zixing felt a warm airflow generate in Dantian and began to wander through various meridians in her body. It's crispy and numb, like soaking in a hot spring or taking a sauna. It's amazing. Zixing, who was originally only able to internalize his own perception of the sea and unable to examine the various meridians in his body, can now see the white color airflow transformed by the peeling Dan, constantly nourishing and expanding the various meridians in his body. Not only does it simply expand, but the meridians become stronger and more resilient under the nourishment of warm currents. Zixing is looking interesting. But he found a blood-red airflow appearing in his meridians. The red airflow has a strong and aggressive force, which is often referred to as domineering, and any white airflow that encounters it is unlucky to be swallowed by it without hesitation. Next, the red airflow will relay and expand the meridians inside Zixing's body. The red color airflow seems to know that ordinary meridians cannot withstand its erosion, specifically targeting the 8 extraordinary meridians. Zixing began to feel immense pain. Oh my! I'm so hot that I feel like I've been thrown into an incinerator. What the hell is that? The red color airflow completely ignored Zixing's excruciating pain and wandered through his 8 extraordinary meridians 9 times. Every time nourishing the meridians, a portion of the white and colored airflow will blend into them. The red airflow is not like the white airflow. The red airflow never dissipated, and in the end, it turned around and headed straight towards the sea of consciousness of Zixing. Zixing was horrified. Just as Pavarotti was about to become possessed, he let out a loud voice and let out a sound breaking through the sky, only to find that when he returned to the sea of consciousness, the red color airflow subsided and turned back into the shape of a red color bamboo. Ah, this red color airflow is actually transformed by spiritual roots. Ling Zhen can transform into liquid and can also wander through the 8 extraordinary meridians. It's like having life. Is this the magic of mutated spiritual roots? The body of Zixing is undergoing earth-shattering changes, but from its appearance, there is not much noticeable change. In short, Sun Li cannot be seen outside the window. It's because Sun left late. Not only did she miss the wonderful moments of opening the gate of mountains and rivers, and Nuwa transforming into a snake, but she also missed the opportunity to witness the storage ring recognize its owner. Zixing collected 5 colored stones and swallowed the peeling pill. He had already stood in front of the broken window of the old temple, quietly observing Zixing for half an hour. I only caught sight of Zixing sitting cross-legged on the ground like a wooden stick. 300 meters behind Sun, there lay 3 24-hour attendants sent by Li Jing to Zixing. Those 3 soldiers were all knocked unconscious by him using his fists as big as a vinegar bowl. Sun Li is tall and has set his sights on Yao Ming, approaching the age of 40. His family used to run an escort agency. He learned art from his father since childhood. At the age of 6, a wandering Taoist discovered that he possessed the 5 spirit roots. The Taoist believed that the young man was diligent and ambitious, so he casually passed on his first 3 layers of qi refining techniques. Sun Li was bound by the waste spiritual roots and spent a full 20 years practicing the qi refining technique to the 2nd level. When Sun Li was 16 years old, a wealthy family in this city entrusted Sun Li's father to escort 100,000 birthday gift to the Fei Zhong of Chaoga. Father took Sun Li, and the entire escort agency's bodyguards poured out. Unfortunately, I was robbed by a group of mysterious bandits with high martial arts skills on the way. Father and other bodyguards died in a bloody battle. Sun Li killed 5 robbers, but still fell to the ground with 97 knives due to being outnumbered. In fact, Sun Li had his last breath left at that time. It was the old master who he decided to follow for his whole life who saved him. Struggling from the brink of death and recovering from his injuries, Sun Li began to serve as the close bodyguard of his old master. The old master treated him better than his own playboy and new son. There are many servants in the family who secretly gossip and speculate that he is the illegitimate son of the old master. Sun Li is not angry. The old master's trust in him has reached the point where he can deliver his wealth and life. Otherwise, half a month ago, the old master would not have entrusted the act of assassinating the third Prince Xian to him alone. Sun Li felt ashamed that Zixin had not died. Sun Li didn't believe that he would miss out, but the old master saw Prince Xian jumping and dancing with his own eyes in the mansion of General Li Jing. How else can Sun Li defend himself? Facing the extremely disappointed gaze of the old master, Sun Li felt a deep sense of guilt in his heart. Sun Li knew that the old master was under immense pressure from the higher-ups. Since the longevity king's head hit the wrong nerve, he ran from Chaoga to Shentangwan. A certain nobleman in Chaoga believed that the opportunity had come. When the old master first received the order from the nobleman, he also believed that Shentangwan was his territory and it was easy to deal with a single prince. It just took some effort to make Zixin's death look like an unfortunate accident. Sun Lijian believed that he was not dreaming that day. He did indeed personally insert a sharp stone into Zixin's heart and repeated the same puncture 3 times, shattering the entire heart of King Zhou to the point of death. He calmly returned to report to the old master. Such a heartless longevity king, surprisingly able to come back to life. Although Sun Li has a dual cultivation of refining qi, he also feels a vague fear of this kind of chaotic power monster. In order to dispel the shadow weighing on his heart and help his old master solve problems, Sun Li decided to take action against Zixin again. He was determined to die in this action. If Zixin was possessed by a passing demon soul, then Sun Li was determined to break down Zixin's body into 8 large pieces and then crush them into meat paste. Without the body, can the demon soul still rely on not leaving? Even if it angers the demon soul and poses a risk of sexual fate, Sun Li is not afraid. He spared himself completely. The life-saving kindness of the past is always engraved in my heart. It's time to give back my life to the old master. Chapter 9. Black Hand reveals. Layout counterattack first bullet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Black Hand reveals. Layout counterattack first bullet, free of charge in this chapter. What is the most unlucky assassin in the world like? There is a not too cold assassin abroad who has to be distracted to protect the little girl while fleeing. When the assassin becomes such a breakthrough super milk dad, is it unlucky enough? A domestic assassin named Fu Hongxue is suffering from madness. In addition to killing, he also has to find time to talk about a timeless love with a famous prostitute. At the grand finale, it was discovered that the father whom he had been determined to avenge his father for decades was not his own father. Are you unlucky enough? But Sun Li has something to say. Regardless of the famous and unknown assassins from ancient and modern times, whether they want to compete with him, he will be in a hurry with anyone. Sun Li missed twice on the same prey. When I became a killer for the first time, my prey turned out to be a monster that could survive even without a heart. Before taking action for the second time, he fiercely prepared a large package of corpse powder. Top-level corpse powder that can be turned into blood. He rushed into the temple, intending to stab the Showang who was sitting cross-legged with his back to him. When the stab turned red, he immediately used corpse powder to fill the wound. He resorted to such reckless means, but it took him 10 lifetimes of shame to resolutely take action. As a result, the bayonet was still 101 meters away from the prey, and he suddenly felt a tightness all over his body, inexplicably losing his ability to move. Can see, can hear, can't move. He watched as Zixing stood up calmly with a smirk on his face, slowly walking behind him. Soon, Sun Li felt a heavy object hitting the back of his head. He was knocked unconscious without any suspense. When cold water splashed on his face, Sun Li startled and woke up slowly, turning around. Opening his eyes, he saw the dim moonlight shining through the ventilation hole above, and found himself stripped of his clothes. A cold, dark iron rope tightly bound him to the stone pillar. Sun Li's thoughts still remain on that question. Strange. How on earth did I get caught? What is this dark and damp room that he is in? His mind was in a tangled mess. At this moment, someone lit a greasy lamp all over. The dim lighting took Sun Li some time to adapt. His pupils suddenly dilated, and he saw a familiar face. He recognized the burly man with curly beard who lit the oil lamp with his own hands, named Jiang Wenhuan. This Jiang Wenhuan is the post minister, equivalent to the director of the Public Security Bureau, responsible for the daily security of the post town where Shentangwen is located. Surprisingly, he handed me over to Jiang Yicheng. So, this place should be the prison of the officials. Is Prince Shou Xin reporting to the government according to the usual procedure? Or Sun Li couldn't help but ask Jiang Wenhuan directly, are you from King Shou's family? Jiang Wenhuan sneered without answering him. Reaching into his arms, he pulled out a thumb-sized porcelain vase. Jiang Wenhuan walked up to Sun Li with a fierce expression on his face and reached out to squeeze his jaw tightly. Sun Li felt pain and couldn't help but open his mouth wide. Jiang Wenhuan lifted the cork of the bottle with his right hand and poured the liquid into Sun Li's mouth. That is a green liquid with a faint fishy smell. Jiang Wenhuan released his hand. Sun Li gasped for a few breaths and said in a hoarse voice, did you feed me poisonous liquid? Did King Shou order you to kill me? You have so many questions. Jiang Wenhuan said senselessly, you should have answered my questions well. Just use the 108 kinds of torture. If you have the guts, kill me. But you can't take out any secrets from my mouth. Really? If I were to say that I don't need to be severely tortured, you would obediently confess. Do you believe it? Jiang Wenhuan sneered. Zixing is currently in a very happy mood. Last night, he was able to detect the assassin's whereabouts in a timely manner thanks to the warning issued by the frame that had been hovering in front of him. After taking down the Gu Shenwan and Pei Ling Dan, Zixing's confidence exploded and he really wanted to have a face-to-face confrontation with the assassin. It is still the framework that discourages the pig feet of personal heroism from really acting recklessly. Zixing finally took out the beast cage from the storage ring, gave it a try, and easily captured Sun Li. The beast cage is like a transparent jellyfish, touching its surface with your hands without feeling any stickiness. Sun Li was bound by the animal cage and unable to move, but he never knew what was wrong with his body. Poor assassin, how could you imagine that there are still strange things like information processors and animal cages in this world? The assassin stood still. Zixing jumped up and walked behind him. Zixing, who was full of energy after taking medicine, surprisingly took out the 5-colored stone and raised it high, gently touching his head. Zixing swore that it was just a light touch, and the result was early in the morning. Zixing found Jiang Wenhuan and threw the assassin to him for interrogation. Before this, Zixing had already taken back the beast cage and used thick hemp ropes to tie Sun Li's 5 flowers. Throughout Qintang Pass, no one knew that Shou Wang and Jiang Wenhuan were childhood friends who could confide in each other. Having caught the assassin, Zixing still suspects that there is a mastermind behind the assassin's actions. Jiang Wenhuan firmly promised to uncover the mastermind behind the scenes from the assassin. Zixing mysteriously handed him a small bottle of medicine liquid, reminding Jiang Tu that you should behave like this. Jiang Wenhuan understood after Sun Li was transferred to the Black Prison. He used iron ropes to tie him up. That is also a reminder from Zixing to Jiang Wenhuan that the assassin is a qi refining master. Jiang Wenhuan then entertained Sun Li with the highest standard inside the prison. Sleepless all night, yet still energetic. Zixing has great confidence in the small bottle of medicine liquid handed over to Jiang Wenhuan. My brain is really useful. Thinking about the origin of the small bottle of medicine liquid, Zixing couldn't help but praise himself. In the beginner gift package received by Zixing, there is a pet beast soul wolf. This beast can control the intelligence of lower-level creatures. It's a piece of cake to use it to deal with a mere qi refining level assassin. Unfortunately, Zixing's current level is too low. Summoning the soul wolf to the real world requires him to reach level 20 or become a 4th level qi refiner. Zixing felt ashamed to inform history and *** that he had not officially started practicing yet. But how can a living person be suffocated by urine? The soul wolf cannot come out, and the assassin cannot enter the game world. The clever Zixing thought to get some soul wolf saliva to feed the assassin. Does it have the function of a confused mind? It should be feasible. In the world where Zixing comes from, foreigners can use a thin chain to hang a ball, which can hypnotize the living and extract the secret information they want. The saliva of a soul wolf with the ability to confuse people's minds should not be inferior to that of a round ball, right? Speaking of one's own ideas to the box received positive affirmation. This is the small bottle of liquid that was handed over to Jiang Wenhuan. After finishing all this work, the sky also brightened up. The busy person Zixing then went to find Li Jing and prepared to bid farewell in person. In these 2 days, I will roll back to Chaoga. The soon-to-be-born ancient demon version Neza, he can't afford to provoke, can't he still avoid it? Before leaving Chintang Pass, he accidentally captured the assassin who assassinated Shouwang. If he could bring him back to Chaoga without any accidents, it would be considered a full-load return. In Li Jing's study, Zixing and his original wife Yin Shi had a narrow encounter. Zixing's eyeballs kept spinning around Yin's swollen abdomen, feeling as if a black monster could emerge at any moment. It was so difficult to resist the urge to run away. Li Jing and Yin Shi are having an argument. My wife has been pregnant for 34.5 months. The prolonged wait of 20.4 months has deepened Li Jing's worries. Jin Jia and Mu Jia, the 2 young boys, were both born smoothly in October. It is very likely that this 3rd child is pregnant with a monster. At this moment, what Li Jing emphasizes is this viewpoint. Zixing thought to himself. I have almost received the correct answer. Yin, however, spoke out for her unborn 3rd son with great courage. What are you afraid of having a baby for a long time? Do you want our child to be born prematurely and become a standard 205? What logic is this? Li Jing felt very depressed in his heart. At this moment, Yin Shi first discovered that Zixing had arrived, so he dragged the Shouwang to ask him to comment. There is actually a father in the world who cruelly praises his son as a monster. How unreasonable. Why not say that the child stayed in the mother's womb for 34.5 months, and may be a perfectly boned immortal? Li Jing felt uneasy in his heart. How dare you think of yourself as a top-notch wife? You are not even a cultivator, and you still want to conceive an immortal fetus. Consider yourself the Queen Mother. The 3 Virgin Mary. Zixing passively made a guest appearance as a mediator. Li Jing sighed and said with a bitter face, then let's observe for another month and a half. After 3 years of pregnancy and still unable to give birth smoothly, I will take you to Kunlun Mountain in our school and ask the elders of our school to perform Taoist examinations to see if the fetus is dangerous. In order to calm his wife's anger, express his importance to his wife and children, and avoid becoming a cold-blooded animal, in the eyes of King Zhou, Li Jing solemnly put on the warding-off evil jade pendant that his master gave him, and personally put it on the pregnant Yin family. A family dispute came to a temporary peaceful end. After being repeatedly reminded by the couple, Zixing finally realized a problem. According to the time stipulated in Romance, Najah should still have 1.5 months to be born. Although the events in Romance may have changed due to some accidental factors, looking at Li Jing's strong and sturdy wife, it doesn't seem like she's about to give birth these days. Moreover, Li Jing also wore a warding off evil jade pendant on his wife. Immortal treasures and fake land all have some anti-evil effects, right? Zixing has decided not to mention the matter of Hui Chao Gu for the time being. To be honest, as long as the remnants of the ancient demon do not cause trouble, Zixing also hopes to leave a few days later. He wants to first figure out who the mastermind behind the assassination attempt is from the killer's mouth. If conditions permit, it is advisable to remove the hidden threats first. Go back to your residence and push the door in. I saw Jiang Wenhuan waiting for him in the room right away. Jiang Wenhuan couldn't sit still and kept spinning around in circles. His face was also quite solemn. Upon seeing Zixing enter the room, Jiang Wenhuan eagerly stepped forward to drag him down and said anxiously, Zixin, you're in big trouble this time. Oh, the confession has come. Which bastard is hiding behind the scenes to deal with me? Zixing asked calmly. Thinking to himself. The great trouble of Brother Lien crossing time and space to change the national fortune for the Shang Dynasty is coming. All the other troubles are small ks. Not one, it's a bunch of jerks trying to deal with you. Chapter 10. The female divine doctor being targeted. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The female divine doctor being targeted. This chapter is free. Once the truth of a complex case is revealed, people will feel that it is not as complex as they imagine. This is a pattern. The truth behind the assassination of King Zhou is already simple. After listening to Jiang Wenhuan's case report, Zixing found that he had already guessed the truth 80.9% correctly. The interrogation of the assassin Sun Li was not like exploring the truth, but more like verifying Zixing's speculation. Zixing thought to herself. The aftermath of watching too many Jiuliu soap operas. Half a month ago, after receiving the body of Shouwang, Zixing sorted out his possible enemies. In Romance, King Zhou once found a reason to imprison Marquis Ji Chang of the West for 9 years due to his fear of his excessive influence. This feud is big enough, but after all, it happened after King Zhou ascended the throne. Your Zixing has the benefit of predicting the future, but Ji Chang cannot have the divine ability of predicting the future, so he can take the lead in dealing with the future tyrant of Shouwang. If it's not an external problem, then there's only an internal ghost. The father of King Zhou was Emperor Yi of the current dynasty. This emperor was not very prosperous and only gave birth to 3 sons. Shouwang ranks third, with his eldest brother Weiziki and second brother Weizian on top. In the Shang Dynasty, it was not yet as customary as in the Tang, Song, Ming, and Qing dynasties to appoint the eldest son as the heir to the throne, and it was regarded as a matter of course. So, regarding the matter of inheriting the throne, all 3 princes have hope, but none of them are confident. Although Shouwang ranks third, he has an advantage that cannot be compared to the other 2 brothers. That's because he is the legitimate son, born to the Empress Dowager of the Imperial Palace. The other 2 princes were the concubines of Emperor Yi. In the minds of the courtiers, they were born shorter than King Zhou. In my memory, both brothers were ruthless, and with him, the third brother, they engaged in another zero-sum game around the throne. Most likely to stab him in the back with a knife. The confession obtained from Sun Li proves this point. Among the 2 older brothers, the eldest brother, Weiziqi, has a darker heart, thicker skin, and a deeper understanding of the samadhi in the study of Hohei. The mastermind behind the assassination of King Zhou this time is Weiziki. Weiziki's philosophy of survival is to act based on the face and expression of his father, Emperor Bi. Even if people all over the world suspect that the death of King Zhou is related to him, they are not afraid, as long as His Majesty the Father does not doubt it. So the incident of King Zhou being attacked and killed cannot happen in Chaoga. Zixin left Beijing and ran to Shentangguan, which was a divine opportunity for Waiziki. Li Zhenchang, the deputy general of Shentangguan, had already been wooed by Waiziki a few years ago, but few outsiders knew this secret. Waiziki placed his hope on Li Zhenchang, who then delegated the task to Sun Li. Knowing that the assassination incident at Shentangguan was handled by the old man Li Zhenchang, both Zixing and Jiang Wenhuan felt extremely tricky for a while. Their headache is not the title of Deputy General of Shentangguan held by Li Zhenchang. But it's another identity of Mr. Li, the adoptive father of General Li Jing. Li Jing's biological parents abandoned him shortly after his birth. That year, during the Great Shang Dynasty, there was a severe crop of food in the southern region, and countlessly people starved to death, causing widespread grief and sorrow. The tragedy of changing children and eating has become a touring performance. It is considered kind that the biological parents did not use Li Jing to exchange children with others. However, Li Jing has no impression of his biological parents at all. His grateful recipient is his adoptive father. Although the political positions of the two father and son are different, the adoptive father firmly supports the eldest prince's succession to the throne, while Li Jing stated that he should maintain absolute neutrality and wait for the holy judgment of Emperor Bi, the ruler of the country. But this does not hinder the deep relationship between the two father and son. If Zixing had moved the old man Li Zhenchang, it can be imagined that it would have pushed Li Jing into the camp of the Grand Prince. This foolish, political suicide behavior is definitely not worth the loss. Jiang Wenhuan obviously also thought of this layer, and it was only then that he kept his face smelly. Don't you want to let Li go for nothing? Can you bear it? Jiang Wenhuan said bitterly. The biggest black hand in Chaoga can't move, that's all. Now even against an old ground beetle, we are worried. Zixin, when we were in Chaoga a few years ago, why were we so weak? We can do whatever we want. We are free. Now you have granted the title of King Zhou, and my father has left me here as a border petty official, and we are not free. Who said we should tolerate Mr. Li's idleness? Zixing casually pulled a chair and sat down. Tell me what Mr. Li's weaknesses are. Jiang Wenhuan listened to his words and intended to use harmful tactics to deal with Li Zhenchang. He suddenly came to his senses and said, Li Laogo's biggest hair disease is his good looks. Even though he is almost 70 years old now, he still has a lot of ideas for young girls. I really don't know why he has so much energy. By hearsay, right. After Zixing fell and injured himself, Li Zhenchang also visited Li Jing's mansion. That is an old man who speaks and acts with lightning speed, with a dignified appearance and no trace of lustful rascals. What hearsay? It's true. Just 3 days ago, there was a female miracle doctor who stayed at the Uli Inn in Chintang Pass with a little maid and several bodyguards, and also brought 15 boxes of precious medicine materials. At that time, Li Laogo happened to go out in a sedan chair and accidentally caught sight of the peerless beauty of the female doctor, which made him miss her. The largest gang in Chintang Pass, the Tiger Head Gang, has 4 leaders who are known as the 4 Tigers of Chintang. Before the 4 Tigers established their own family, they once studied under Li Laogo. Li Laogo contacted the 4 Tigers of Chintang this time, asking them to take the lust master and servant to the Tiger Head Gang's lair. Li Laogo is preparing to go out and enjoy the beauty every day, and when he gets tired of playing, he will destroy the body again. In short, the beauty belongs to Li Laogo, and more than 10 boxes of precious medicine materials belong to Si Hu. Si Hu thought that this business was not in vain and it was not easy to save the face of the master, so he agreed to take action. I even know the time when the Hu Tu gang will target the goddess doctor, and it is tentatively scheduled for tonight. What's the point of wasting a lot of trouble? Why doesn't Li Zhenchang hide his beauty in a golden house? I'm worried about ruining my reputation. Li Laogo is a typical hypocrite. He needs to satisfy his personal desires while also wanting a good reputation. Oh, how did you know about such a secretive matter? Shouldn't you, the post station official, have also pulled a pimp for Mr. Li? Zixing joked. Just now, a flash of inspiration flashed in his mind, and he thought of a good trick to deal with Li Jinchang, which made his mood improve. Fart. Who is my son? The young master of my noble lord's family. Even if he wants to become an official as big as sesame and mung beans, there is no need to curry favor with Li Laogo. The magical medicine liquid you gave me. After I administered it to Sun Li, he recruited everything, including his dirty history. It was Sun Li who was responsible for spreading messages between Li Laogo and Si Hu. That female miracle doctor came by surprise. With so many boxes of medicine materials, why did she stay at Chintang Pass for a few days? You're too worried. Speaking of that female miracle doctor, it's a coincidence that she's actually my sister's friend. This time she went out to purchase precious medicine materials and stopped briefly at Chintang Pass because my sister asked her to give me a family letter. In the past 2 days, there have been frequent thugs appearing at the Uli Inn, which has also alerted the female miracle doctor. After realizing that she was being monitored and controlled, the female miracle doctor secretly sent a close maid to me last night to seek help. Speaking of this, Jiang Wenhuan looked at Zixing with a smirk on his face and asked, judging from your expression of wanting to be beaten, you probably thought of a way to deal with Li Laogo. Speak up quickly, don't be too presumptuous. Zixing has no intention of playing tricks on Jiang Wenhuan. His trust in Jiang Wenhuan comes not only from the childhood memories left to him by the Chouwang. What kind of person is Jiang Wenhuan? In romance, it is the younger brother of Empress Jiang Wenxiang of King Zhou. Jiang Wenhuan's father, Jiang Huanchu, was conferred the title of Eastern Marquis, and was the only great marquis in the world with the strength to compete with Western Marquis Ji Chang. Despite having connections by marriage, King Zhou did several foolish things instead of treating the sincerely dependent Jiang family as a root onion. Firstly, he was transferred by the treacherous minister Fei Zhong and the demonic concubine Daji to kill Empress Jiang. 2. He still accepted Fei Zhong's bad idea and attempted to deceive the 4 major feudal lords, including the father. In Law of Dongbo Marquis, into killing Chaoga, in order to prevent the lords from causing chaos. As a result, all the powerful forces in the world have turned against it. Zixing expressed that he could not understand the intelligence of King Zhou and Fei Zhong. Deep down, there is also a sense of debt towards the Jiang family. Zixing secretly swore in his heart to treat Jiang Wenxiang and Jiang Wenhuan's siblings well in this life, have a good start and a good end with the father. In Law of Dongbo Marquis. Humph, having a pig's foot with the right ideological weapon is terrifying. Fei Zhong, the treacherous minister, just wait for me to learn how to play with people. This is a separate courtyard with an ancient color and fragrance. That female miracle doctor, Jiang Wenhuan, is not sure about her origin and background, only knows her name is Dream Star Tong. This name was only discovered by Jiang Wenhuan when his sister mentioned it to her younger brother in a letter. But looking at Meng Xingtong with a girl and 4 female bodyguards, 4 male bodyguards, and a group of 10 people, they all wrapped up a large courtyard in the inn, which indicates that her family is in good condition. Jiang Wenhuan's identity as a post-station official is very popular at Chintang Pass. Seeing that it was the carriage of Yicheng, Jiang Yicheng sat upright in the carriage. The innkeeper wisely allowed the carriage to enter directly through the back door, heading straight to the courtyard under the protection of the goddess Dr. Dream Star Tong. There are still over 20 meters away from the 2-story small building in the courtyard. Zixing and Jiang Wenhuan in the car both smelled a strange odor. Jiang Wenhuan covered his nose and thought to himself, what abnormal medicine is that strange female doctor studying again? Zixing had no psychological preparation at all. He was so affected by the stench that he only felt that the heaven and the earth had turned color, and the universe had turned upside down. He didn't dare to say a word more, pushed open the car door, jumped out of the car, and a gust of wind rushed to a willow tree. He supported the tree, bent down, and vomited a lot. So foul-smelling, is there an unlicensed crematorium hidden in the yard? Zixing can't resist it anymore. Looking left and right, no one noticed him. Turning his back to Jiang Wenhuan's car, he quietly took out the bag of red spirit powder from his storage ring. This red spirit powder can dispel plague and detoxify. It's a bit overkill to deal with the stench, but Zixing never treats herself unfairly. She takes it out and hooks a small handful with her nails, happily taking it down. The car stopped in front of the two-story building. Jiang Wenhuan got off the car and asked the female bodyguard outside the door to report that Jiang Yicheng was visiting with friends. A woman in her 20s, dressed in a palace dress and wearing a pair of plain-colored bucket boots, walked downstairs from upstairs. This woman has delicate skin, a sparkling complexion, and her hair has formed into a married hairstyle. But Jiang Wenhuan knew from Nai Jie's letter that Meng Xingtong's husband was the doll's relative you had arranged for her. When Meng Xingtong was 8 years old, news of her husband's death came. It is regrettable that Meng Xingtong has never seen her husband before and has become a widow. Meng Xingtong personally came downstairs to welcome Jiang Wenhuan, in addition to respecting his brother, Jiang Wenxiang, who was one of his few friends. Another important reason is that yesterday she asked Jiang Yicheng to provide her with several loyal and reliable experts as temporary bodyguards. She was somewhat eager to know what kind of dignified appearance Jiang Wenhuan had chosen. Is there any real material for practical learning? The guests standing outside the car, apart from Jiang Wenhuan, were only left with Zixing, who stood awkwardly supporting the willow tree and retching repeatedly. What's going on? That's the skilled bodyguard you're trying to seduce for me. He's still an underage boy. Meng Xingtong was too surprised, or rather, too disappointed. The voice involuntarily increased by 8 degrees. Facing everyone's gaze, Zixing took off a nail of red spirit powder and felt as if she had come back to life. Suddenly I heard someone making remarks that looked down upon him. He suddenly became very dissatisfied, turned around, and strode towards Jiang Wenhuan and Meng Xingtong with a straight chest. Walking up to him, before he could get angry, Meng Xingtong's pretty nose twitched twice before turning her gaze to Zixing. Ah! Meng Xingtong's face was filled with shock as he extended his jade finger to Zixing and said in shock, You. Zixing and Jiang Wenhuan both felt a moment of tightness in their hearts. Did this woman actually see the dignity of His Royal Highness Shouwang? Can you tell his identity at a glance? I'll invite you to be my bodyguard. This young master and I hit it off at first sight and we hit it off very well. Meng Xingtong was so afraid that Zixing might slip away that she reached out her jade hand and tightly grasped his sleeve. The stark contrast in attitude towards underage boys is so glaring that it is tongue-stopping. Being your temporary bodyguard is not impossible. But I have to listen to the truth. Why did you choose me? Zixing asked calmly. I thought to myself. This woman seems to have a brain problem studying medicine. If it weren't for dealing with Li Jinchang, I couldn't have lacked her chess piece, and I really don't want to talk to her. Being exposed by Zixing, Meng Xingtong didn't feel embarrassed. Smiling, he said, Don't tell lies in front of real people. You have sprinkled a special medicine powder on your body, which can dispel the poison barrier I have set up. You are considered a fellow disciple. Xingtong will inevitably seek your advice from the young master in the future. Zixing felt a chill in his heart. His strong sense of smell could even smell the scent of red spirit powder. It's really more agile than a dog's nose. Jiang Wenhuan, on the other side, was horrified and shouted, Oh my God, what you mean by poison barrier is the culprit that caused that foul odor, right? So, after inhaling the poison barrier for so long, there won't be any danger to my life, right? Meng Xingtong, however, has the heaviest career ambition and doesn't even care about him. She stared closely at Zixing and suddenly said, "Do you think you are a rare commodity now? What conditions do you need to agree to tell me the formula of that special medicine powder? Tell me, maybe I will satisfy you." Looking at her handsome appearance, Zixing suddenly revealed infinite charm. Without proper psychological preparation, her heart couldn't help but tremble uncontrollably.